I still remember the exact second the sky cracked open. It opened like a loading screen, blue lines falling across the city, cutting through clouds, buildings, traffic lights, and people. Cars froze in the middle of the street. Birds hung in the air like somebody had paused the world. Then every phone, billboard, watch, and vending machine lit up with the same glowing sentence. "Welcome to the apocalypse game." Most people screamed. I did not. I was too busy staring at the cheap instant noodles I had dropped on the sidewalk. That was my dinner. That was my last normal meal. And even before the monsters came, the universe had already taken it from me. A bright window appeared in front of my face. Player awakened. Name Owen. Class none. Weapon none. Primary skill none. Bonus trait search bar. For one perfect second, I thought the glowing window had made a mistake. Everyone around me was getting swords made of fire, shields made of bone, rifles that reloaded themselves, floating spellbooks, beast arms, shadow steps, lightning fists. All the ridiculous stuff people dreamed about when they watched anime at 3 in the morning. And me. I got a white rectangle with a blinking cursor. It looked like the help page on a broken website. A guy standing near the bus stop laughed so hard he almost fell over. He had awakened with a spear that burned blue at the tip. His status window called him a storm lancer, and he kept spinning the weapon like he had trained his whole life, even though I had seen him drop it twice already. Another player slapped my shoulder and said my class was customer support. Somebody else said I could type a complaint to the monsters. I forced a smile because when everyone else suddenly gets weapons, it is important not to become their first joke kill. Then the timer appeared over the city. First night begins in 10 minutes. Survive until dawn. The laughter stopped. Buildings groaned, manhole covers shook. The glass windows of the stores turned black from the inside, like something was pressing its face against every reflection. Far down the road, behind a wall of frozen traffic, I heard claws scraping metal. Everyone who had laughed at me started gripping their weapons. I looked at my empty hands. Then I looked at the search bar. The cursor blinked. It was almost rude, like the system was saying, well, are you going to die or type something? So I typed the first thing that came to mind. How do I survive the first night? The search bar flashed. Letters filled themselves in faster than I could blink. Hidden safe zone under subway platform 3. My heart kicked once. I stared at the result. Not advice, not a tip, not a motivational quote. A location. Something real. Something hidden. The claws at the end of the road became footsteps, heavy footsteps, more than one. The timer dropped under 9 minutes. I did not tell anyone. That sounds cold, but listen. 5 seconds earlier, those same people were deciding whether I was useless enough to abandon. If I yelled about the safe zone, the strongest players would shove me aside, take the entrance first, and call it leadership. I had no weapon, no class, and no way to survive an argument with a man holding a lightning spear. So I did the only smart thing. I ran. The entrance to the subway was 3 blocks away. My legs felt like wet noodles, my lungs burned, and behind me the first monsters crawled out of the shadows between parked cars. They were dog-sized things made from smoke and teeth, with too many elbows and eyes that shine like wet coins. The spear guy shouted something heroic, then screamed something much less heroic when 3 of them jumped him at once. I did not turn around. I jumped the subway turnstile, slipped on spilled soda, rolled down half a flight of stairs, and crashed into a wall hard enough to see stars. My status window politely informed me that my health had dropped by 6. Very helpful. Platform 3 was sealed with yellow tape and a sign that said closed for repairs. The tracks were dark. The timer hit 5 minutes. I searched again while limping. How to open hidden safe zone under platform 3. Answer. Press the gum under the 3rd bench, pull the loose tile, then say the station name backward. I froze. The system had hidden the first safe zone behind gum. That was when I learned the apocalypse had a sense of humor. I found the 3rd bench. There were 3 pieces of gum under it. Of course there were. I pressed all of them because I was not dying over flavor choices. Something clicked beneath the platform. The loose tile rose just enough for my fingers to catch. I pulled it open, revealing a rusted handle and a dark ladder going down. Then I realized I did not remember the station name. A monster shriek echoed from the stairs. I looked up. A smoked dog landed on the platform, its paws hissing against the concrete. It lowered its head at me, jaws opening wider than its skull. Another one crawled behind it, then another. My eyes snapped to the wall sign. Ashford Station. I shouted the name backward as fast as I could. Drofsha. The ladder hole opened wider. I jumped in. The tile slammed shut above me right as claws scraped across it. I fell 3 feet, hit a metal floor, and rolled into a hidden room glowing with soft golden light. The air smelled like dust, old rain, and warm bread, even though there was no bread anywhere. A small fountain bubbled in the center. Around it were blankets, crates, and a vending machine with no brand name. The moment I entered, the timer above my head vanished. Safe zone discovered. First discover a reward granted. I sat there in the golden light, bruised, sweaty, and laughing like an idiot. Outside, the city turned into a nightmare. Inside, I typed my next search. What is the best reward inside this safe zone? The answer appeared. Under the vending machine, left rear wheel. I crawled to the machine and felt around underneath it. My fingers touched a tiny metal box. Inside was a black coin with a glowing white question mark stamped into the surface. Item acquired. Lucky search coin. Effect 1 search result per day will include an optional hidden reward route. I flipped the coin between my fingers and smiled. Everyone else had weapons. I had a search engine with cheat codes. Morning, the city above was full of smoke. The first night had chewed through the weak, the slow, the unlucky, and the loud. People gathered at the subway entrance in torn clothes and bloodied confidence. The storm lancer from yesterday was alive, but his spear was cracked, and his face looked like somebody had dragged him through a garbage truck. When I climbed out from under platform 3, clean, rested, and holding a can of coffee from the hidden vending machine, everyone stared at me. The spear guy narrowed his eyes. He asked where I had been. I took a sip of coffee and said the help menu had a waiting room. A few people laughed, but not the same way as before. There is a special kind of silence that happens when people realize the joke survived better than they did. I liked that silence. Then the day 1 objective appeared. Clear a dungeon before sunset. Failure penalty, random mutation. The subway shook, red arrows appeared across the city, pointing toward dungeon entrances. The strongest players immediately formed groups. The ones with big weapons stood in the center, giving orders like they had been born wearing capes. Nobody invited me. That was fine. I searched while pretending to examine a map. Weakest boss with best reward near me. The result loaded. Tin Centipede Maintenance Tunnel B12. Reward repeat key. Warning, boss is weak to carbonated sugar. I looked at my coffee, then I looked at the vending machine behind me. 30 minutes later, I entered a maintenance tunnel carrying 2 bags full of soda cans and a broom handle I had sharpened against concrete. It was not heroic. It was not elegant. It was also not stupid. The tunnel smelled like rust and old wires. Little tin beetles crawled on the walls, clicking their jaws. I searched as I walked. Tin Centipede attack pattern. Answer. Charges at sound, hides from bright light, opens mouth before each leap. So I became a one-man circus. I tied soda cans to strings. I hung them from pipes. I cracked one open and threw it down the hall. The hiss echoed like a wounded animal. The boss exploded out of a vent. It was as long as a bus and built from shiny scrap metal, with hundreds of needle legs and a face like a can opener. It charged the soda hiss so fast it smashed head first into a wall. I shook another can and rolled it in the opposite direction. The boss screamed and followed it. I kept searching while running along the side of the tunnel. Best place to hit Tin Centipede. Answer. Third red screw behind jaw hinge. There it was, tiny, almost invisible, a red screw glowing under its metal chin. I waited until it opened its mouth for a leap, then jammed the sharpened broom handle under the hinge and kicked the screw as hard as I could. The boss froze. Every segment of its body rang like a dropped pan. Then it collapsed into a mountain of scrap, twitching while soda foam sprayed across its face. Boss defeated. Solo clear bonus granted. First clear bonus granted. Absurd method bonus granted. I blinked at the last message. Even the system had judged me. A silver key appeared above the wreckage. Repeat key acquired. Effect reopen 1 cleared reward chest once. Cooldown 24 hours. No attack power, no magic sword, no lightning. Just a key that duplicated rewards. I started laughing again. That key was more dangerous than a sword. Because swords kill what is in front of you. Duplication kills balance. The reward chest gave me a pair of boots called Step Skip sneakers. They let me teleport 3 steps in any direction once every 10 seconds. I used the repeat key and opened the chest again. Second pair acquired. I searched. Can identical equipment be fused? Answer. Yes, at hidden anvil under abandoned laundromat. Reward route unlocked by lucky search coin. Hidden reward route added a map line that glowed only in my status window. It pointed through alleys, across a collapsed bridge, and into a laundromat full of washing machines that spun with no power. In the back room, under a dryer, I found an anvil no bigger than a toaster. I fused the 2 pairs of sneakers. Step skip sneakers became flash hop sneakers. Teleport distance 10 steps. Cooldown 5 seconds. Extra effect leaves a fake afterimage that insults nearby enemies. I tested it once. My body blinked across the room, and a copy of me stayed behind for half a second, pointing at an empty washing machine and saying, "Nice aim, champ." A tin beetle attacked the afterimage and got folded by the spinning door. I knew then that my build was going to be disgusting. When I returned before sunset, the main group had cleared a dungeon too, barely. Your strongest players looked proud until I stepped out of an alley wearing glowing sneakers, dragging a bag of loot, and eating chips I had found in a hidden snack cache. Someone asked how I got equipment. I told them I searched for customer support coupons. The Storm Lancer stared at my shoes with hungry eyes. That was the first time I searched his name. Weakness of player with cracked blue spear near me. The system answered without hesitation. Overuses lightning skill, right shoulder torn, fears being seen as weak. That last part hit harder than a stat window should. Information was not just maps and items. It was people. And people were dungeons with louder mouths. That evening, a woman named Serena challenged the strongest survivors to spar in the open street. She was calm, cold, and fast enough to cut rain before it touched her face. Her weapon was a thin black blade that looked too simple, which made it scarier. She beat 3 players in a row without raising her voice. When her eyes landed on my sneakers, I expected another insult. Instead, she asked what my skill really did. I told her it helped me find things. She said finding the right thing at the right time was a weapon. I liked Serena immediately because she was the first person in the apocalypse with a working brain. I also searched her weakness because liking someone is not a defense strategy. Weakness of Serena. Answer. Does not trust shortcuts, will hesitate if victory seems too easy. Interesting. I searched for hidden class near me. The search bar paused longer than usual, then it filled in. Hidden class archive trickster. Requirement, clear 3 puzzles without attacking. Location, museum basement. Reward, search bar upgrade. I had no combat power anyway. Perfect. Museum dungeon opened at noon the next day. It had marble floors, broken statues, and paintings that watched you with human eyes. Other players ignored it because the entrance sign said combat damage reduced by 99%. To them, that sounded useless. To me, it sounded like home. Inside, the first puzzle room had a giant stone hand blocking the door. Above it floated a riddle asking for the weight of regret. Players behind me groaned. One tried to punch the hand and broke 2 fingers. Another threw a fireball that turned into a sad puff of smoke. I typed, "Answer to weight of regret puzzle museum basement." The search bar gave me the answer. 1 apology. I stepped forward and said sorry to the stone hand. The hand moved. Everyone stared like I had performed forbidden magic. The second room had 20 doors, each painted with a different animal. The riddle asked which animal lied only when hungry. I searched. Correct door animal lied only when hungry. Answer. The goldfish. There was no goldfish door. I searched again. Where is goldfish door? Answer. Reflected in puddle under wolf door. I crouched. A puddle on the floor showed a tiny golden door where the wolf door stood. I pressed the reflection with my finger. The wall opened sideways. The players behind me started whispering. The third room was my favorite. A huge statue of a giant statue sat on a stone chair. Not a political king, not a Halo drama thing, just an ugly stone statue with a smug face. The riddle said only the humble may pass. Naturally, everyone started kneeling. Nothing happened. I searched. How to pass humble statue without attacking. Answer. Walk past it while carrying the smallest object in the room. I looked around. Tiny pebbles, dust, a dead bug, a splinter. Then I searched smaller. Smallest object in humble statue room. Answer. The statue's pride. I almost laughed. How to carry statue's pride. Answer. Compliment everyone else. So I turned to the crowd and started praising them with a straight face. Nice spear control, great hair, excellent panic breathing, very brave kneeling posture. The statue's smug face cracked more with every compliment. When I said Serena had better posture than the statue, its nose snapped off and rolled into my hand. Door opened. Puzzle clear. Hidden class conditions met. Archive trickster acquired. The class did not give me strength. Of course it did not. It gave my search bar tabs. Search bar upgraded. New functions, map search, item comparison, future probability within known system patterns, enemy drop tables, recipe chaining. I read that list 3 times. Then I nearly cried. Not because it was weak. Because it was unfair. From that point on, the world was no longer a battlefield. It was a menu. The class reward chest contained a small bronze cube called a copy box. It could duplicate any non-unique item if fed enough monster cores. The catch was that copied items lasted only 6 hours. 6 hours was a lifetime if you were shameless. I spent the afternoon farming soda cans, smoked dog claws, tin beetle shells, and cheap healing gum. Then I fed them into the copy box and duplicated the most annoying thing I owned. My flash hop sneakers. The copied sneakers lasted 6 hours and could not fuse, but they kept the afterimage effect. So I gave pairs to 8 random weak players who had been hiding in the subway, told them to run in circles around a monster nest, and watch the street become a parade of insulting fake Owens. The monsters lost their minds. Smoke dogs chased afterimages into walls. Tin beetles attacked trash cans. A huge sewer ogre swung at an illusion that called him forehead soup and knocked itself unconscious on a traffic light. The weak players thought I had saved them out of kindness. I had. Kind of. But I had also used them as a mobile distraction orchestra while I walked into the nest and looted the core pile. When the 6-hour copies expired, everybody fell over barefoot. I gave them socks from a hidden supply crate because I am not a monster. By day 3, my name spread through the survivors. Not as the strongest. Not as the bravest. As the weird guy who kept walking out of impossible places with snacks, cursed jewelry, and boss rewards that made no sense. The real monsters were no longer my biggest problem. Players were. The apocalypse did something ugly to people. Some became heroes, some became cowards, some became salesmen with swords, and some looked at weaker players and saw walking loot boxes. The worst of them was Grant. Grant did not wear armor. He wore a clean white jacket he somehow kept spotless, black gloves, and a smile that made every apology sound like a threat. His class was chain duelist. He fought with thin metal chains that wrapped around weapons, ankles, and throats before anyone knew they had moved. He did not attack safe zones. He was smarter than that. He waited outside them. He smiled at exhausted players, offered protection, then took half their supplies. If they refused, accidents happened. A monster got led their way, a bridge collapsed, a chest vanished. Grant never looked guilty, because guilt was for people with witnesses. One evening, he approached me outside the subway while I was sorting monster cores. He said he had heard I was lucky. I said luck was just preparation wearing sunglasses. His smile twitched. He asked me to join his group. I searched under the cover of scratching my ear. Grant intention toward Owen. Answer. Deal searchability if transferable. If not transferable, force cooperation. If resistance, break legs, take items. Well, at least he had a plan. I looked at his polished shoes, his relaxed hands, and the 3 players pretending not to watch from the alley. Then I searched. Player killer ambush location Grant set tonight. Answer. Parking garage level -2, behind red delivery van. Optional hidden route, lure ambushers into stone jail dungeon entrance using stolen siren lure. I smiled so warmly Grant almost looked uncomfortable. I told him I would think about his offer and meet him after sunset. Then I got busy. First, I searched for stolen siren lure. It was inside a police station evidence locker, guarded by 3 mannequins with batons and the emotional stability of broken vending machines. Combat was not my specialty, so I searched how to defeat them without fighting. Answer. Play recorded applause. Mannequins will bow for 6 seconds. I duplicated my phone with the copy box, loaded it with an applause clip from a hidden media cache, and tossed it into the hallway. The mannequins bowed like cursed theater kids. I flash-hopped past them, grabbed the siren lure, and left a copied soda can behind because I believed in supporting the arts. Next, I searched for the stone jail entrance. It was under the parking garage, sealed behind an elevator with no buttons. To open it, I needed someone to attack first while standing inside a chalk circle drawn by the dungeon itself. The entrance was not complicated. It was a hungry trap that liked violent people. I could work with that. Before sunset, I went to the parking garage alone, carrying a backpack full of fake loot, copied healing gum, and 30 duplicated metal pots. Why pots? Because the search bar said Grant's chains were weakest against tangled concave metal. Sometimes destiny is a kitchen aisle. Level -2 was dark except for emergency lights. The red delivery van waited in the corner. I pretended not to see the shadows behind it. Grant stepped out first, clapping slowly. He said I was brave to come alone. I told him I was not alone. Then I dumped 30 pots on the floor. The echo was unbelievable. His ambushers flinched. Grant's smile disappeared. Chains shot toward me from both sleeves, silver lines cutting through the air. I flash-hopped backward. My afterimage stayed behind just long enough to say, cookware beats couture. The chains hit the pots. They tangled instantly. Grant yanked and the entire pile flew into him like a metal avalanche. I grabbed the siren lure and twisted it. A sound rolled through the garage, sweet and awful, like a choir singing underwater. Every hidden monster within 3 blocks heard it. So did the dungeon. The chalk circle on the ground lit up under Grant's feet. His ambushers rushed me. I ran directly through the circle, because the search bar had already told me the trap only grabbed the first attacker who landed a hit inside it. Grant recovered fast, too fast. His chain snapped around my ankle. Pain shot up my leg. The circle turned black. A stone hand rose from the floor and grabbed Grant by the waist. For the first time since I met him, he looked honest. He looked terrified. The garage floor opened beneath him and his ambushers. Stone bars erupted in a ring. One by one, the attackers were dragged into glowing cells below the concrete, not dead, not free, just trapped in the stone jail dungeon until they cleared their own punishment fights. Grant grabbed the edge with both hands. I crouched in front of him. He asked what I was. I told him I was the help menu. Then the stone hand pulled him down. The dungeon sealed with a sound like a judge slamming a mountain. I did not kill them. That mattered to me. The apocalypse kept giving people excuses to become worse. I wanted power, but I did not want to become the kind of person who smiled while taking supplies from the scared, so I used cages when I could. Traps when I could, humiliation whenever possible. Humiliation was renewable. Killing was messy. By the end of day 4, the survivors stopped laughing at my search bar. They started asking questions. Where is food? Which dungeon is safe? What monster drops burn medicine? Can curses spread through water? At first, I answered only enough to keep people alive. I was not a charity machine. Every search took focus. Too many searches caused headaches, nosebleeds, and once, a 10-minute period where all results appeared in singing rhymes. But I started building something around the subway safe zone. Not a kingdom, not a government, nothing that needed speeches. A base. A place where weak players could trade monster cores for directions, where injured people could rest, where idiots with flaming axes were politely told not to practice indoors. Serena watched this happen with unreadable eyes. Felix arrived on day 5. He was important because he was the first person I met who looked at my copybox and did not ask how much it was worth. He asked if it would duplicate soup. Felix had wild hair, round glasses cracked on one side, and the kind of grin that made explosions feel likely. His class was Scrap Alchemist. He could combine junk into temporary gadgets, but most of them either broke, smoked, or insulted him. We became friends after he turned 3 tin beetle shells, a flashlight, and a subway token into a portable lamp that screamed whenever undead got close. It screamed at him constantly. He said that meant it worked. I searched best use for Felix's unstable gadgets. Answer: mass distraction, forced enemy repositioning, absurd morale damage. Perfect. Together we became a disaster factory. I found hidden item recipes. Felix built them badly on purpose. Then I duplicated the bad versions and used them in ways no sane player would expect. We made banana-shaped smoke bombs from yellow vending machine plastic. We made fake treasure chests that shouted compliments at monsters until they opened them. We made spring-loaded shoes for a group of weak players, then used them to bounce across rooftops and rain soup cans on a goblin nest. We built a decoy cart covered in shiny weapons, filled it with copied pots, and rolled it down a hill into a pack of horned wolves. When the wolves attacked, the cart burst apart, and every pot released a copied afterimage of me saying, "Nice dental plan." The wolves chased illusions for 20 minutes while we stole their alpha's treasure chest. Serena called it disgraceful. She also asked for a smoked banana. Progress. Every day, the system objectives grew harsher. Day 6, clear a tower floor. Day 7, survive blood rain. Day 8, defeat a named monster. The city was changing, but not because of me. The apocalypse game had its own schedule, and the schedule was cruel. Streets folded into maze paths. Storefronts became monster dens. Office buildings grew bridges of bone between them. At night, the moon displayed rankings. I was not first. At first, top names belonged to people with raw combat power. Serena was high because she cut through bosses like they owed her money. Grant's name stayed frozen while he was trapped in stone jail, which I found very relaxing. Other players rose and vanished. The system did not mourn them. My rank climbed slowly. Then it jumped. The jump happened because of the vending dragon. On day 8, the named monster objective sent everyone toward the shopping district, where a dragon made of vending machines had nested inside a mall. It had coin slot eyes, aluminum wings, and a belly full of boiling soda. It could fire cans like bullets and heal by eating money. Most players tried to fight it head-on. That went badly. The dragon fired a storm of grape soda that punched through shields and knocked people through storefronts. Serena cut one wing, but had to retreat when the floor turned sticky and trapped her boots. Even she looked annoyed, which for Serena was basically panic. I stayed behind a pretzel kiosk and searched. Vending dragon weakness. Answer: exact change. I stared at the result. No. Best method to defeat vending dragon using exact change. Answer: feed it the discontinued moon quarter to trigger refund cycle. Where is discontinued moon quarter near me? Answer: fountain lower level under third plastic turtle. I flash hopped down 2 broken escalators while soda cans blasted holes in the wall behind me. The mall fountain had turned black and smelled like melted sugar. Plastic turtles floated in circles. I shoved my hand under the third turtle and pulled out a black quarter with a crescent moon stamped on it. Then I searched. How to reach vending dragon coin slot without dying. Answer: use sticky floor as slingshot with elastic candy rope. Where is elastic candy rope? Answer: candy store aisle 2, cursed licorice bundle. I ran into the candy store, grabbed a bundle of licorice that tried to bite me, and tied one end to a railing. Felix saw what I was doing and immediately started laughing like he had seen heaven. I told him to duplicate the licorice with the copper box. He did, badly. Now we had 20 ropes of cursed licorice, all snapping at the air. I tied them to my waist. Serena cut through the dragon's soda, storm long enough to shout that my plan looked stupid. I shouted back that stupidity was just courage with worse branding. Then I ran onto the sticky floor, let it trap my sneakers, stretched the licorice ropes across the mall, and searched the launch angle. Best angle to hit vending dragon coin slot. Answer: 41 degrees, scream optional. Felix pulled the ropes. Serena sliced the floor under my feet. I became a human slingshot. I flew across the mall, past soda bullets, through a cloud of popcorn, spinning so fast the world became lights and screaming. The vending dragon opened its mouth to blast me. I flash-hopped midair. My afterimage continued forward and yelled, "Insert snack here." The dragon bit the illusion. I appeared above its face and slammed the moon quarter into its coin slot eye. The dragon froze. Then it started making change. Every panel on its body opened. Coins exploded out like golden rain. The dragon roared, but the roar became a cheerful jingle. Its belly hatch popped open and fired its own core into the fountain. Boss defeated. Named monster objective completed. Absurd method bonus granted. First aerial coin insertion bonus granted. I landed in a pile of quarters and pain. My reward was a golden vending token called the refund badge. Effect once per day, recover 1 item consumed within the last hour. I searched if it worked on copied items. Answer: yes, if the copied item was real at time of consumption. Felix and I looked at each other. That was the beginning of the duplication spiral. The copy box made temporary copies. The refund badge recovered consumed items. The repeat key reopened reward chests. Felix's scrap alchemy could turn copied junk into temporary gadgets. My search bar could chain recipes faster than any crafting guide. I did not get power directly. I built it out of trash, snacks, boss drops, and disrespect. By day 10, I had a backpack full of 6-hour bombs, disappearing bridges, 3 fake treasure maps, a whistle that attracted only monsters with no sense of rhythm, and 20 copied healing gums that tasted like mint and regret. The subway base became the safest place in the district. That made it a target. Grant returned from Stone Jail on day 11. He was thinner, paler, and no longer smiling. The jail had not killed him, it had made him sharper. His chains were black now, and each link had a small stone tooth attached to it. He did not come alone. He gathered angry players who hated that weak survivors trusted me more than them. He promised them my loot, my safe zone, and my search bar if it could be taken. I knew he was coming 3 hours before he arrived. Sarge, next major threat to subway base. Answer. Grand assault at midnight, East Tunnel, fake monster alarm. Best way to punish attackers without killing. Answer. Collapsed aquarium dungeon, containment tanks active, lure with pearl flare. I smiled so hard Felix asked if he should run. The collapsed aquarium was 6 blocks away. Half the building had sunk into the street. Inside, fish skeletons swam through the air and jellyfish ghosts pulsed with blue light. The containment tanks were magical prisons meant for aquatic monsters, but the search bar said they worked on anything wet. So I needed to make Grant's group wet. This was easier than it should have been. Felix and I spent the afternoon turning copied soda cans into pressure sprayers. Serena said nothing while sharpening her sword, but I caught her watching us attach hoses to a shopping cart with deep concern. At midnight, Grant's fake monster alarm echoed through the East Tunnel. Weak players panicked exactly as Grant expected. He rushed in through the emergency passage with his group, chains spreading like black vines. I stood in the tunnel wearing a raincoat and holding a pearl flare. Grant stopped. For 1 second, I think his soul remembered the parking garage. Then pride made him stupid. He attacked. Felix kicked the shopping cart. 20 soda sprayers erupted at once. Grant's entire group got blasted with grape, lemon lime, orange, and something called mystery thunder. Chains whipped through the spray. Serena moved like a shadow beside me, not killing, just cutting weapon straps, slicing boot laces, knocking people off balance with the flat of her blade. I lit the pearl flare and ran. The attackers chased me because evil people hate being laughed at more than they hate danger. I led them through an alley, over a broken bus, across a rooftop ramp Felix had definitely not built safely, and straight into the collapsed aquarium. The ghost fish went wild. The containment tanks opened. Every wet attacker got sucked into a separate glowing tank, banging on invisible glass, while phantom jellyfish drifted around them like board guards. Grant almost escaped. He swung his chain around a pillar and launched himself toward me, soaked jacket snapping behind him. I searched mid-run. Immediate counter to Grant chain launch. Answer. Duck. Sometimes the best answer is simple. I dropped flat. Grant flew over me, straight into the largest tank. The tank sealed with a beautiful bubbling sound. He floated inside, furious, hair drifting upward, still trying to look intimidating, while a ghost turtle nibbled his sleeve. I waved. The aquarium dungeon marked them contained, until they cleared a series of underwater trials. No killing. Maximum embarrassment. The subway base cheered when we returned. I wanted to enjoy it. But my search bar blinked red for the first time. Not an attack. Not a warning from the system. Just a result I had requested earlier, finally finished. Sarge, how to cure permanent curse? Answer. No permanent curse exists if its anchor is found before 7 sunsets. My blood went cold, because I had not searched that for myself. A kid in the base had been scratched by a black thorn monster 2 days before. The wound would not close. People called it a permanent curse because the status window did. But my search bar said permanent was a lie if you knew where to look. I searched for the anchor. Curse anchor for black thorn wound in subway base. Answer. Bell inside Thorn Chapel, Industrial Park, destroy before 7th sunset. Time remaining 1 day, 4 hours. Industrial Park was beyond the safe district, past streets where the buildings leaned together like they were whispering. The Thorn Chapel had grown through a factory, all black vines and stained glass eyes. Every player who had tried to enter came back with bleeding hands or did not come back at all. Serena said she would go. I said no. She looked offended. I told her the chapel punished direct violence. That made her more offended. Felix asked if it punished explosions. I searched. Does Thorn Chapel punish explosions? Answer. Yes, but slowly. Felix said he could work with slowly. We went as three. I did not want companions in the classic doomed party sense. I did not want speeches about trust while dramatic music played. But Serena could cut things I could not dodge, and Felix could build devices that turned bad ideas into weather events. More importantly, both of them had seen enough of me to stop asking why. The chapel doors were made of vines twisted around factory pipes. Above them, a bell rang without moving. Every ring made the cursed wound in the distant bass pulse through the party channel. I searched. How to enter Thorn Chapel safely. Answer. Do not open doors. Enter through employee break room vent. Of course. The apocalypse respected maintenance access. We climbed through a vent that smelled like dust and old coffee. Inside, the chapel was huge and wrong. Factory machines had become pews. Conveyor belts carried black roses. Thorn angels hung from the ceiling, faceless and twitching. A message appeared. Violence returns pain. Serena sighed like the dungeon had personally insulted her. The first hallway filled with thorn puppets. They were human-shaped bundles of vines, each carrying a rusted tool. They rushed us silently. Serena's hand went to her blade. I grabbed her wrist. Then I searched. Nonviolent way past thorn puppets. Answer. Assign them unfinished tasks. I looked at Felix. Felix looked at the factory machines. 5 minutes later, he was standing on a pew shouting fake work orders, while thorn puppets lined up to carry boxes, sweep dust, and polish conveyor belts. One puppet tried to stab me with shears, so I handed it a copied clipboard made from cardboard and told it to inspect the vents. It saluted. No names, no questions, just cursed plant labor. We walked through the hallway untouched. Second chamber had a floor made of black roses. The bell's sound came from below. Every step made the petals whisper things we regretted. Mine whispered every time I had run instead of helping. Every time I had chosen silence, because survival was easier than courage. I searched quickly because therapy flowers were not in my schedule. How to cross regret roses. Answer. Walk backward while saying what you will do next. So I walked backward across a field of whispering flowers, saying I would save the cursed kid, then strengthen the base, then trap Grant again if he escaped, then find the demon king's weakness before he found us. The roses quieted under my feet. Serena crossed after me, jaw tight. Felix crossed while promising to invent soup that punched monsters. The roses seemed confused, but accepted it. Bell chamber waited at the center. A black bell hung inside a cage of thorns, ringing without a clapper. Around it slept a monster shaped like a priest made of roots, its long fingers wrapped around the cage. I searched. How to destroy Curse Bell without violence. Answer. Make it ring for itself. How? Answer. Feed it its own echo using 3 sound sources. I had one screaming, undead lamp. Felix had 2 copied versions, because of course he did. He placed the lamps around the bell. They screamed at the root priest. The bell rang louder. The lamps screamed louder. The sound bounced between them until the air bent. The root priest woke. Serena stepped between it and us, blade still sheathed, body low and ready. The monster swung one hand. She dodged without cutting. I searched. Root priest blind spot. Answer. Directly under left elbow when bell rings. I flash-hopped under the elbow, grabbed the cage, and slapped a copied soda can against the bell. The sound went ridiculous. The bell rang at itself. Cracks spread across the black metal. The root priest screamed, but the scream only fed the echo. The cage burst open. The bell shattered into ash. Curse anchor destroyed. Permanent curse removed. Reward granted. The kid's health in the party channel jumped. I stood there covered in soot, holding the bell clapper that had finally appeared. Item acquired. Echo clapper. Effect repeat 1 sound-based effect 3 times. Felix slowly turned toward the screaming lamps. Serena said no before either of us spoke. We did it anyway later. By the time we returned, the base no longer saw me as the useless search bar guy. They saw me as the guy who could find cures the system itself called impossible. That was powerful. Dangerously powerful. Because hope attracts people. And people attract monsters. On day 14, the blood rain began. The sky turned red at noon. Drops fell upward first, rising from gutters and wounds, then reversed and poured from the clouds. Any player touched by the rain gained strength for 10 seconds, then lost control for 10 minutes. Monsters loved it. People hated it. The objective was simple. Reach shelter before full moonrise. Every known shelter filled instantly. Our subway safe zone could not hold everyone. I searched. Largest hidden shelter within 3 miles. Answer. Old stadium maintenance bunker, capacity 2,000, locked by mascot trial. I stared at the words mascot trial and felt true fear. Not demon fear. Mascot fear. The stadium was across the city, through streets flooded with red water and berserk players. I could not move everyone at once. I needed a route, distractions, and a way to stop people infected by the rain without hurting them. Search. Safest mass route to stadium bunker. Answer. Subway tunnel to river station, service stairs, rooftop of cinema, bus bridge, stadium gate C. Search. How to calm blood rain frenzy quickly. Answer. Cold carbonation applied to forehead. I closed my eyes. The vending dragon had prepared me for this moment. He emptied every soda machine I knew. Felix converted carts into rolling soda cannons. Serena organized the strongest comm players into guard lines. I used the copy box until my inventory looked like a convenience store had exploded. Then we moved. Hundreds of players' families, scared strangers, injured fighters, all running through tunnels while blood rain hammered the street grates above. Monsters crawled along the ceiling. I searched constantly. Next ambush en route. Answer. River station ticket gate, 6 red hounds. Weakness. Answer. Afraid of train horns. Felix built a train horn out of 3 pipes and a screaming lamp. It sounded like a goose being hit by a truck. The red hounds fled so hard they crashed through a vending kiosk. Next danger. Answer. Cinema roof unstable, under more than 50 people. Solution. Cross in waves, use copied licorice ropes as side rails. We did. Next danger. Answer. Berserk player at bus bridge, fire axe class. Solution. Soda forehead. A huge player charged us on the bridge, eyes red, axe flaming in both hands. Serena moved to intercept, but I flash-hopped in front of him holding a copied 2-liter bottle. He roared. I shook the bottle. He swung. I teleported behind him, and my afterimage took the swing while saying, hydration check. The axe passed through the illusion. I cracked the bottle against his forehead. Cold soda exploded over his face. His red eyes blinked back to normal. He dropped the axe, confused and sticky. I shoved gum into his hand and told him to run. By the time we reached the stadium, the moon was rising. Gate C was sealed by a giant statue of a smiling mascot animal that looked like a raccoon had lost a fight with a sports logo. Its stone eyes glowed. The trial text appeared. Only true team spirit may enter. Everyone looked at me. I searched. How to clear mascot trial quickly. Answer. Score 1 goal with no ball. I searched again. Where is ball? Answer. No ball exists. I respected the honesty. Score 1 goal with no ball method. Answer. Use yourself. I decided I hated sports. Felix built a launcher from stadium chairs, licorice rope, and bad judgment. Serena cut open the gate bars just enough to create a goal shape without counting as opening the gate. I climbed into the launcher while hundreds of people watched under blood rain, and for one terrible second, I realized this was my life now. I searched angle. Answer. 70 degrees, regret guaranteed. Felix launched me. I flew through the air, curled into the least graceful ball in history, bounced off the mascot statue's nose, flash-hopped forward, and passed through the goal shape backward. The gate opened. Mascot trial cleared. Absurd method bonus granted. The bunker lights turned on. Everyone poured inside as the full moon rose, and the blood rain became a red curtain over the city. I landed in a popcorn stand. For 10 seconds, nobody said anything. Then the entire bunker erupted into cheers. I tried to stand with dignity while popcorn fell out of my jacket. It did not work. That night, the rankings changed. My name jumped into the top 10. Not for kills. For saved players, hidden clears, boss rewards, and impossible methods. The system did not care how cool you looked. It cared what you accomplished. For the first time, Serena smiled at me. It was small. It was terrifying. She said I was becoming hard to underestimate. I told her that was tragic, because being underestimated was my favorite weapon. There was one problem with climbing into the top 10. People stopped treating me like a stray cat with a weird skill and started treating me like a treasure chest with legs. Every time I walked through the safe zone, eyes followed my backpack. Players whispered about my repeat key, my refund badge, my copy box, and the melted rumors around my search bar. Some wanted help. Some wanted protection. Some wanted to cut my hands off and check if the search bar came with them. That last group was small, but small problems become big when they carry knives. I searched for the next theft attempt while pretending to nap beside the fountain. Next attempt to steal copy box. Answer: 4-player ambush during midnight arcade event. Target: Felix first. My eyes opened. Felix was across the room, trying to teach a toaster-shaped gadget how to whistle. It bit him. He called that progress. I searched again. Midnight arcade events. Answer: hidden dungeon opens under old arcade at midnight. Prize: duplication stabilizer. Requirement: win without scoring. Duplication stabilizer. Now that was a dangerous phrase. The copy box was already unfair, but temporary items were hard to rely on. They vanished at the worst moments, usually when someone was standing on them. If there was a way to stabilize copies, even a little, my entire build would jump from annoying to criminal. I did not tell the ambushers I knew. I told Felix we were going to play games. He packed 7 gadgets, 2 bags of cores, and a helmet made from a soup pot. Serena asked if she had to come. I said no. She came anyway. The old arcade sat between a ruined pizza place and a store that sold expensive shoes nobody had time to wear anymore. At midnight, the metal shutters rolled up by themselves. Neon lights flickered on. Machines beeped in the dark. Pixel monsters danced across cracked screens. A new objective appeared over the entrance. Win a prize without scoring. Felix looked offended on behalf of gaming. Inside, every machine offered a different trap. Racing games where the cars were real and tried to run you over. Dance machines that shot arrows at your feet. Fighting games where the characters crawled out of the screen if you picked them. A claw machine full of glowing prizes stood in the center, guarded by a giant toy bear with stitched excess for eyes and boxing gloves bigger than my head. The 4 ambushers slipped in behind us. They thought I did not notice. I had searched their positions 6 times. Search: how to win midnight arcade event without scoring. Answer: lose every game perfectly until prize machine pities you. I stared at the result. This was my kind of dungeon. I walked to the racing game first. The screen asked me to start. I searched perfect loss method. Answer: turn left into wall at exactly 2 seconds. I did. The machine groaned. A ticket popped out, but the score remained 0. Next was the dance machine, perfect loss method. Answer: stand completely still while making eye contact with arrow display. The arrows fell like rain. I did not move. The machine called me disappointing and gave me another ticket. Next was the fighting game, perfect loss method. Answer: select the training dummy and compliment opponent. The pixel fighter crawled out of the screen, flexing. I told it its punches had great personality. It knocked itself out from confusion, which apparently counted as my loss because I had not pressed a button. 0 score. Another ticket. The ambushers grew impatient. I heard one of them whisper that they should grab Felix now. I searched. Ambusher attack timing. Answer: after claw machine opens. Good. The claw machine accepted my 0 score tickets. Its glass case opened with a sigh. Inside were several prizes: a red stabilizer gear, a pair of dice made of bone, a silver joystick, and a stuffed rabbit with teeth. Search: best prize for copybox upgrade. Answer: red stabilizer gear. Trap warning. If taken by hand, toy bear activates lethal mode. How to take stabilizer safely. Answer: make thief take it. I almost kissed the search window. I stepped back and pretended to hesitate. The ambushers saw their chance. One rushed Felix. Serena's blade flashed, not cutting him, just shaving the strap off his weapon so it clattered to the floor. Another grabbed for my backpack. I flash-hopped away, leaving an afterimage that said, "Please form a line." The leader of the ambush reached into the claw machine and snatched the red stabilizer gear. The toy bear's head turned. Its stitched eyes glowed. Lethal mode began. The ambusher went pale. I searched. How to switch toy bear from lethal to capture mode. Answer: give it a higher score target. There was no score. That was the point. Then I saw Felix smiling. He rolled one of his gadgets onto the floor. It was a little metal crab with a screen on its back, showing a score of 999,999. Felix had built it from a broken prize counter and pure nonsense. The toy bear saw the score. The bear chose violence. It launched across the arcade, but instead of killing anyone, it followed the crab straight into the claw machine. The machine slammed shut. Bear grabbed the ambushers with 4 plush arms, stuffed them into prize capsules, and dropped them into the return bin one by one. They were alive. They were trapped inside plastic bubbles with tiny air holes and humiliating music. Capture mode confirmed. I picked up the red stabilizer gear from the floor where the leader had dropped it. Prize acquired. Duplication stabilizer. Effect: 1 copied item per day may remain real after expiration if it survives a danger event. I read it again. 1 copied item per day. Not many. Enough. That night I upgraded the copy box under the subway fountain. The bronze cube unfolded into a wider shape, gears spinning inside it like a tiny factory. Its new name appeared. Twin copy box. Effect: duplicate non-unique items. 1 copied item per day may become permanent after surviving danger. Warning: copied copies may develop attitude. Felix whispered that he wanted to duplicate the copy box. I searched. Can twin copy box duplicate itself? Answer: no. Felix looked heartbroken. Then I searched differently. Can twin copy box duplicate a copied housing shell of itself? Answer: yes, but shell will be useless and smug. We did it anyway. The copied shell sat on the floor doing nothing, somehow radiating judgment. The next day, we used the stabilizer on something practical. Not a sword. Not armors. A bridge. There was a gap between 2 buildings near the safe zone that monsters kept using as a choke point. I searched for the best temporary structure. Felix built a folding bridge from street signs and railings, and I copied it. We placed the copied bridge over the gap and lured a pack of ash wolves onto it. Then we fought around it for 6 hours. When the copy should have vanished, it shuddered, sparked, and became real. Permanent copied bridge acquired. The entire base cheered like I had invented roads. That was when I realized my strongest weapon was not finding loot. It was turning temporary tricks into permanent advantages. A bridge today. A wall tomorrow. A trap after that. A city that rebuilt itself from copied trash while monsters watched in confusion. I became greedy in a very specific way. Not for gold. For useful nonsense. I searched for hidden fountains, broken generators, old emergency doors, underground food lockers, monster-repelling bells, anything the twin copy box could duplicate and stabilize. The safe zone grew teeth. Then it grew legs. Then, because Felix should never be left alone with spare wheels, it grew a moving barricade shaped like a turtle. The turtle barricade was slow, ugly, and nearly impossible to stop. Its head was a bus door. Its shell was made from copied tables. Its tail was a screaming lamp. When monsters attacked, the turtle rolled forward, screamed at them, opened its bus door mouth and fired soda cans. The base loved it. Serena refused to admit she loved it too, but I saw her pat the shell once. My rank kept climbing. That made Serena restless. One afternoon, after we cleared a nest of bone birds by luring them into a fake concert performed by 7 screaming lamps and 1 terrible flute, Serena challenged me. Not to hurt me. To test me. She said there would come a day when search results failed, when I would not have time to type, when the answer would arrive too late. If I could not stand in front of a strong player for even 1 minute, all my tricks would eventually run out. She was right. I hated that she was right twice in 1 week. The duel took place on the stadium field. Hundreds of people watched from the seats. Felix sold popcorn he had absolutely found somewhere and not invented, hopefully. Rules were simple: no killing, no outside help. Serena would use the back of her blade. I would use whatever I carried. People expected me to lose instantly. That was comforting. I searched before stepping onto the field. How to survive 1-minute duel against Serena. Answer: do not survive, make her spend the minute choosing. Choosing what? Answer: target, sword, pride, or promise. That sounded dramatic in a way I did not enjoy. I searched her likely opening. Answer: 3-step draw, low feint, shoulder tap. The duel began. Serena vanished. Not really, but it felt like it. One moment she stood across the field, the next her blade was at my shoulder. I flash-hopped before the tap landed. My afterimage stayed behind and said, too pretty to miss. The blade passed through it. Serena did not blink. She adjusted mid-swing and tapped my real shoulder anyway. Pain snapped down my arm. 10 seconds gone. The crowd gasped. I searched while running. Serena next pattern. Answer. Will herd you toward left boundary. So I ran right. She was already there. Of course she was. The answer told me her pattern, not her skill. She could change faster than I could read. I needed the choosing part. I threw a copied bridge token onto the grass. It unfolded into a tiny useless ramp, barely knee-high. Serena sliced it in half without slowing. I threw smoke bananas. She cut the smoke. I threw fake maps. She ignored them. I threw the smug copybox shell. She hesitated. Only for half a second, but she hesitated because nobody expects to be attacked by a useless copy of a box with attitude. I used that half second to reach the center mark. Surge. Object on field Serena will not cut. Answer. Her own promise. I had no idea how to throw that. Then I remembered what she said before the duel. No outside help. No killing. Back of blade. I pulled the melted pot from my inventory and placed it on my head again. The stadium went quiet. Serena's expression became dangerous. I told her if she hit me now, she would be striking a sacred artifact. That was not true. Probably. She came anyway, faster than before. I searched angle, but the answer could not finish. Her blade was already there. So I used the only thing faster than reading. Preparation. Earlier I had placed 4 copied soda cans under the grass around the center mark. Not traps, refreshments with attitude. Felix had not helped. He had merely existed near them while they became unstable. Serena's step hit the first can. It burst. Cold soda splashed her boot. Her eyes flicked down for the smallest fraction of time. That was the choice. Target me, ignore the altered footing, risk slipping. Target the can, waste the strike. Target her pride, push through and maybe look foolish. Target her promise, slow down enough not to injure me. She chose the promise. Her blade turned at the last instant and tapped the pot instead of my head. The echo clapper inside the pot rang. Her own tap repeated 3 times, each sound bouncing across the stadium. The dual timer hit 60 seconds. I had survived. Barely. Mostly by becoming cookware. The crowd cheered. Serena lowered her blade and shook soda off her boot. She said I was impossible. I said I preferred limited edition. That duel changed how the strong players looked at me. Before, they believed I could beat monsters because monsters were stupid. After, they understood I could stand against skill itself, not by being faster, but by making speed answer the wrong question. Power is not always bigger fire. Sometimes power is knowing where the soda can should go before the sword arrives. Grant escaped the aquarium the next evening. I knew because my search bar auto-completed his name before I typed anything. Grant location. Answer. Old train yard. Status. Escaped. Unstable. Carrying aquarium curse residue. Intent. Answer. Deal twin copybox. Destroy safe zone morale. Force Owen into public loss. I sighed. Some people treat humiliation like a lesson. Grant treated it like seasoning. He had changed again. The aquarium curse left glowing blue lines under his skin, and his chains moved like eels through the air. He no longer gathered large groups. He had learned that mobs were easy to trap. Instead, he took hostages. Not named people, not recurring drama magnets, just 3 unlucky players from a supply run. He tied them in the old train yard, standing on the roof of a rusted locomotive, chains hanging around him like a nest of snakes. He wanted me alone. Naturally, I did not go alone. I went with 20 copied versions of my coat stuffed with paper, 6 smoked bananas, 4 spring shoes, a stabilized folding wall, 2 screaming lamps, 1 smug copybox shell. And Serena watching from so far away, even Grant would not sense her. Felix wanted to come with the turtle barricade. I told him subtlety mattered. He asked if the screaming lamps knew that. The train yard was a maze of dead tracks and rusted cars. The sky above it glowed with sunset, and monsters stayed away from the aquarium curse leaking from Grant's chains. He saw me enter and smiled again. Not his old smooth smile. A cracked one. He said I had built a legend out of tricks. I searched openly this time. Grant response to visible search. Answer. Rage spike attack within 5 seconds. Good. I made sure he could see the search bar. Then I typed slowly. How to beat Grant again. His chain snapped forward before the answer appeared. I flash-hopped to the side. My afterimage said, "Third time's adorable." Grant did not chase the afterimage. He had learned. His chains spread across the ground instead, making a web around the train cars. Every surface became a threat. Search result completed. Answer. Let him board the wrong train. I grinned. The old train yard had one hidden dungeon, the Midnight Line, a prison train that only appeared when a player with hostile intent stepped onto the conductor mark. It did not care about laws or trials. It was a monster train that loved collecting violent passengers and making them fight their way through nightmare cars until they calmed down or got stronger. Either way, they were not my problem for a while. The conductor mark was on the roof of the locomotive, where Grant stood. Unfortunately, it needed activation. Sarge, activate Midnight Line. Answer. 3 whistles, 1 lantern, 1 passenger who refuses to let go. Grant already refused to let go of grudges. I needed whistles and a lantern. The screaming lamps could handle whistles if hit hard enough. I threw the first lamp into a chain web. It screamed. The sound bounced across the yard. 1. Grant flinched, then laughed, sending chains toward my real body. I jumped onto a rail, used spring shoes to bounce over the first chain, flash-hopped under the second, and threw a copied coat onto the third. The coat got shredded. Grant thought he had hit me until paper exploded everywhere. I threw the second lamp. 2. Hostages ducked as chains carved through a train car behind them. Serena's distant blade flashed once, cutting their bindings without revealing her position. They crawled away through the grass. Grant saw them moving and snarled. He reached for them. I searched quick insult, most likely to redirect Grant. Answer. Tell him aquarium turtle misses him. I shouted it. Every chain turned toward me. 3. The final screaming lamp broke against the locomotive and released a whistle so loud the rails began to glow. Now the lantern. I had searched for one before arriving. It was hidden inside the locomotive cabin, but Grant stood above it. I ran straight at the train, dodging chains by reading the ground web like a moving puzzle. The search bar painted danger lines in my vision, but my body still had to keep up. One chain sliced my coat, another wrapped my wrist. Grant pulled. I let him. That was the passenger who refused to let go. I slammed into the side of the locomotive, kicked through the cabin window, and grabbed the black lantern hanging inside. The moment my fingers closed around it, the train yard changed. A whistle answered from below the earth. The dead locomotive's eyes opened. Grant looked down at the roof beneath his boots. The conductor mark glowed. Midnight Line arrived without moving. 1 second the train was rusted and dead. The next it was long, black, shining, and full of barred windows with pale hands tapping from inside. A door opened under Grant's. He tried to leap away, but his chain was still wrapped around my wrist. Passenger refuses to let go. I smiled. Then I let go. The chain went slack at the exact moment the train took him. Grant dropped through the roof into a prison car lined with blue aquarium glass and black stone bars. The door slammed shut. His face appeared behind the window, fury mixing with something close to disbelief. Midnight Line pulled away down tracks that had not existed a moment earlier, carrying him into the dark. Dungeon notice. Hostile player contained. Estimated release unknown. I waved until the last car vanished. Serena appeared beside me a minute later and asked if he would come back. I searched. Will Grant return soon? Answer. No. That was the most beautiful search result I had ever seen. After Grant vanished, the safe zone changed again. People slept easier, supplies moved farther. Weak players volunteered for missions because they believed we could get them back alive. The city map in my search tab filled with notes, routes, warnings, shortcuts, hidden caches, and monster habits. It looked less like a battlefield every day and more like a place that could be understood. Understanding did not make it safe, but it made fear smaller. Then came the Glass Noon event. At exactly noon on day 16, every shadow in the city pointed toward the same place, a skyscraper whose top floors had become a nest of floating crystals. The system objective appeared. Destroy the sky prism before sunset. Failure penalty, sunlight becomes hostile for 3 days. Nobody wanted to find out what hostile sunlight meant. The sky prism was protected by flying crystal mantas that reflected spells, split arrows, and turned thrown weapons into harmless sparkles. Players with ranged powers were useless. Players with wings were eaten first. The tower elevators were dead, the stairs were full of glass vines, and the outside walls were too smooth to climb. I searched. Best way to reach Sky Prism. Answer. Use falling instead of climbing. How to fall upward. Answer. Invert gravity in laundry chute with heavy moonstone. Where is heavy moonstone? Answer. Top prize in hotel lobby claw machine. I stared at the result. The apocalypse had too many claw machines. The hotel lobby was attached to the skyscraper. Its claw machine was the size of a small house and filled with boulders, gems, and one moonstone pulsing with pale light. The claw moved by itself, trying to grab players who came too close. Search. How to win moonstone from giant claw machine. Answer. Be less valuable than prize. That felt personal. How to appear less valuable. Answer. Wear cursed lost and found jacket. The cursed jacket was in the hotel coat room. It smelled like mildew and bad decisions. When I put it on, my status window displayed temporary condition, spiritually discounted. The claw machine ignored me. It grabbed Felix. He shouted that he felt appreciated. Serena cut the claw cable. Felix dropped into a pile of foam gems, and I rolled the moonstone out of the prize slot. We dragged it to the laundry chute. I searched the activation method. Answer. Drop moonstone first, jump second, regret third. The moonstone fell down the chute. Gravity flipped. The chute became a cannon aimed at the sky. I jumped in with Serena and Felix holding onto ropes behind me, because somehow I had become the test object for all physics crimes. We fell upward. Floor numbers blurred past. Glass vines snapped at us from open doors. Crystal mantas shrieked outside the windows. We blasted out of the roof access hatch and shot into the air above the skyscraper. The sky prism floated there, a spinning diamond the size of a house, bending sunlight into spears. Search. Sky prism weakness. Answer. Shadow that has never touched ground. Where to get shadow that has never touched ground. Answer. From player currently falling upward. Of course. I looked down. My shadow, cast by the hostile prism light, floated beside me on nothing. It had not touched ground since we launched. How to weaponize airborne shadow. Answer. Pin it with glass fish. Felix shouted that he knew the fish was important. He threw the repaired glass fish from the zoo. Serena struck it with the flat of her blade, launching it through my floating shadow and into the prism's core. The shadow pinned to the fish like black ink. The prism cracked. Crystal mantas swarmed. I duplicated the cursed lost and found jacket and threw copies in every direction. The mantas chased the spiritually discounted coats instead of us, because apparently even monsters love bargains. I searched final push. Answer. Kick moonstone into prism during gravity correction. Moonstone shot upward out of the chute behind us, still carrying inverted gravity. I flash hopped onto it, rode it like the worst surfboard ever made, and kicked it into the cracked prism. Gravity corrected. Everything fell. The moonstone crushed the prism. The prism exploded into harmless sunlight that rained over the city like warm glass dust. Objective completed. Absurd method bonus granted. New title acquired, Gravity Vandal. I fell 300 feet into Felix's emergency cushion device. The cushion was made of copped mattresses, soda foam, and optimism. It mostly worked. My spine disagreed, but my health bar remained above zero. That sky prism clear gave us something better than loot. It gave us daytime back. For 3 more days we cleared routes, stabilized bridges, marked danger zones, and built traps that captured more hostile players than monsters. Evil people still existed, but they started avoiding our district because attacking us meant waking up in an aquarium tank, a toy capsule, a prison train, or once. Inside the turtle barricade's storage belly, while a screaming lamp judged them. I did not pretend I was noble every second. Sometimes I enjoyed it. When a group of player killers tried to ambush a food convoy, I searched their escape path, placed a copped folding wall at the exit, and watched them sprint face first into it. The wall survived the danger event and became permanent. We named it the Wall of Bad Choices, though the name never appeared in the system. When a fire mage tried to burn our supply tents because we refused to hand over cores, I searched best non-lethal counter, discovered he was weak to wet socks, and had Felix launch a laundry basket at him. The socks wrapped around his ankles like eels. He fell into a containment pit and apologized to everyone while smelling terrible. When a monster boar the size of a truck charged the safe zone, I searched best way to redirect it, learned it hated jazz, and placed Felix's flute in the road. The boar turned 90 degrees, crashed into an abandoned gym, and accidentally cleared a hidden fitness dungeon. We got strength fruit as a reward. I fed one to the turtle barricade to see what would happen. The turtle moved slightly faster. Serena said I had created a siege weapon. Felix said I had created a friend. I searched turtle barricade emotional status. Answer: proud. I decided not to tell anyone. By the time the final safe zone search result finished loading, I was not just surviving anymore. I was building momentum. And momentum in the apocalypse game was almost the same thing as destiny. But momentum also made noise. Noise attracted the kind of people who heard a safe zone getting stronger and thought, free meal. The first warning came from the search bar before I even typed anything. It blinked while I was brushing dust off a row of copied street signs, and the little cursor pulsed like it was annoyed at me for not being more paranoid. Suggested search. Who is watching the subway base? I stared at it. Felix was nearby trying to make the turtle barricade wear a traffic cone as a hat. Serena was helping train nervous players how to hold spears without stabbing their own feet. The fountain glowed behind us. For one beautiful hour, everything looked almost normal. Then my strange little search bar decided normal was cancelled. I typed the suggestion. Who is watching the subway base? Answer: 26 hostile players in surrounding buildings. Main objective: steal copy box and capture Owen alive. My hand stopped. Not kill me. Capture me. That was worse because it meant someone had finally figured out that I was not lucky. They did not know how my search bar worked yet, but they knew enough to want me breathing. I searched their leader. Answer: no single leader. Temporary hunting party formed by jealous ranked players. That was inconvenient. Groups with one leader were easy. Make the leader look stupid, everyone else loses confidence. A pack of jealous people was harder because each person thought they were the special genius of the room. So I needed a room. Search. Best place to capture 26 hostile players without killing them. Answer: abandoned indoor amusement center, lower mall, event dormant, can be reactivated. I smiled before I even read the rest. Felix saw my face and immediately stopped putting the cone on the turtle. He asked if this was a normal smile or a city damage smile. I searched. How much city damage for amusement center trap? Answer: moderate emotional damage, minimal structural damage. Felix said emotional damage counted as art. Serena walked over, looked at my window, and said the word no with her eyes. She did not have to say it out loud anymore. We had reached that stage of teamwork. I said nothing. I typed again. How to make hostile players willingly enter dormant amusement center. Answer: pretend to hide there with exposed copybox. Felix gasped like a proud parent. Serena pinched the bridge of her nose. The lower mall was 3 blocks beyond our safest route. Before the apocalypse, it had been an underground shopping area with fake palm trees, a food court, and an indoor amusement center for kids whose parents wanted to abandon them near bumper cars. Now the fake palm trees had teeth, the food court smelled like roasted slime, and the amusement center sign flickered with one broken word. Fun. Nothing good ever called itself fun during an apocalypse. I searched the dormant event. Abandoned amusement center rules. Answer: guests must play, cheaters become prizes, winners receive tickets, tickets can be exchanged for temporary containment capsules. There it was. Jail with extra colors. We spent the afternoon preparing the most insulting battlefield possible. Felix repaired the bumper cars, except repair was too generous. He gave each one a different defective personality. One car screamed when touched. One played romantic saxophone music during collisions. One only drove backward, but did so with incredible confidence. I copied rubber hammers from a prize booth until the counter looked like a clown army had exploded. I searched best weak items against overconfident ranked players and learned that rubber hammers did bonus humiliation damage if swung from above. I also found a hidden mascot suit in a storage closet. It was a giant purple rabbit with one missing ear and dead button eyes. The status effect read: enemy targeting increased by 300%. Perfect. Serena refused to let me wear it without armor underneath. I refused to call it armor because it was a trash can lid strapped to my chest with licorice rope. At dusk, I walked out of the safe zone carrying the copy box in both hands where every spy could see it. I stumbled on purpose. I looked over my shoulder. I acted like a nervous weakling who had accidentally become important and now did not know what to do. It physically hurt how good I was at looking useless. The hostile players followed. Not all at once, they were smarter than that. A few came across rooftops. A few moved through alleys. Few pretended to be random frightened survivors, which would have been more convincing if they had not been holding weapons and staring at my backpack with the emotional subtlety of starving wolves. I searched as I walked. Hostile players' confidence level. Answer: high, good. Trap success if I run. Answer: 71%. Trap success if I trip dramatically. Answer: 92%. I hated that the system knew my brand. So I tripped. I rolled down the mall stairs, hugging the copy box, bounced off a broken shoe store sign, and crashed through the amusement center doors wearing the cursed rabbit suit. The 26 hostile players rushed after me like common sense had been deleted from their inventories. The doors slammed shut. Colorful lights burst on. A cheerful jingle echoed through the darkness. Event activated. Welcome guests. The first hostile player realized something was wrong and tried to turn around. The floor under his feet became a moving walkway and politely delivered him to a bumper car shaped like a duck. Seat belts snapped around him. He shouted that he refused to participate. The duck car honked in judgment. Serena dropped from the ceiling behind the entrance and cut the escape rope they had tied outside. Felix popped out of a ball pit wearing goggles and holding a remote made from 3 controllers taped together. Then the bumper cars woke up. I ran across the arena in the rabbit suit while 26 powerful players tried to chase me, and every single one was forced into a game. The system did not care about their dignity. The strongest fire user got locked into whack-a-mole. Every time he raised his hand to cast, a foam mole popped up and smacked him in the forehead. A sword fighter got placed on a dance pad that only accepted perfect rhythm. He missed one step and got sprayed with glitter slime. The glitter was permanent for 6 hours. I know because I searched. Dagger user almost reached Felix. Serena slid between them and tapped the dagger out of his hand with the back of her blade. Then a claw machine descended from the ceiling, grabbed the dagger user by his collar, and dropped him into a giant plush bear costume. I had never seen hatred look so fluffy. Their strongest caster broke free of his game long enough to throw a lightning spear at me. I searched mid-dodge. How to redirect lightning spear in amusement center. Answer: feed it to prize counter. I flash-hopped behind the counter. The lightning spear hit the ticket machine. For one breath, I thought I had made a terrible mistake. Then the machine coughed, burped sparks, and spat out 40,000 tickets. Felix screamed with joy. I grabbed the ticket stream like a golden waterfall and shoved it into the exchange slot. Available prize: temporary containment capsule, quantity 40. I chose 26. Transparent capsules rolled from the prize wall and bounced across the floor. Each one opened like a hungry bubble. I searched best timing and shouted the only words I needed. No. Serena moved. Not like a warrior showing off, like a shadow correcting mistakes. She tripped ankles, cut belts, knocked elbows, and guided bodies exactly where the capsules were waiting. Felix's defective bumper cars rammed people from behind. I used the copy box to duplicate rubber hammers midair and bounced them off walls, ceilings, and one very angry man's forehead. The capsules snapped shut one by one. Inside each capsule, the hostile players sat with their weapons sealed outside, covered in tickets, glitter, foam, or deep emotional defeat. Event completed. Guests entertained. Cheaters converted to prizes. Reward jail token bundle. New title acquired, Amusement Warden. I took the capsules back to the safe zone in a shopping cart while the captured players shouted threats. One tried to swear revenge. The capsule translated his words into cheerful carnival music. I almost cried from happiness. When the safe zone saw us return, nobody laughed at the search bar. They laughed at the capsules. That was different. I placed the hostile players in the new containment area under Platform 3. The system recognized them as captured aggressors, which meant they could not leave until the safe zone guardian decided they had stopped being dangerous. The guardian was still a stone fountain with no face, so I was not sure how it judged personality growth. I searched. Can captured hostile players fake remorse? Answer: yes. How to detect fake remorse? Answer: ask if they regret attacking Owen or regret failing. That answer felt personally supportive. I put up a sign. Do not open capsules unless they regret attacking. Felix drew a rabbit beside it. Serena crossed out the rabbit. The next problem arrived before the glitter dried. A permanent curse began spreading through the eastern shelters. It started with one player's hand turning gray, then his health bar stopped healing. Then his shadow detached slightly from his feet and began whispering ugly suggestions. Nobody had been bitten, nobody had opened a chest, nobody had stepped on a ritual circle. That made people more afraid, because at least those things felt like reasons. This curse moved through people who had only shared food, bandages, or sleeping space. Permanent curse meant exactly what it sounded like. Healing skills failed, potions boiled away, even the safe zone fountain slowed it but did not remove it. I watched a kid no older than 16 sit on the platform stairs, his arm gray up to the elbow, trying not to cry because everyone else was watching. For once, I did not make a joke. I opened the search bar. How to cure permanent curse. The system took longer than usual. That scared me more than a boss roar. Result: cure requires curse anchor, reverse echo, and willing shadow bait. I typed faster. Where is curse anchor? Answer: Bell Tower Hospital roof. Where is reverse echo? Answer: old radio station basement, trapped inside songless speaker. What is willing shadow bait? Answer: a person whose shadow has been stolen before and returned. My hand went still. That was me. During the Sky Prism event, my shadow had been pinned and used as a weapon. It had returned after the prism shattered, but apparently the system remembered every embarrassing thing that happened to my body. Serena read the answer over my shoulder. Her expression changed, not much, but enough. Felix stopped smiling. I searched survival chance if Owen acts as willing shadow bait. Answer: depends on preparation. That was not comforting, but it was better than no. Search: best preparation. Answer: carry false shadows, curse decoys, and one joke the curse does not understand. Felix slowly raised his hand and said he could make at least 2 of those. Bell Tower Hospital had become a vertical nightmare. Ambulances floated around it like dead fish. The front doors opened into operating rooms that had no floor. The roof bell rang without moving, and every ring made the curse on the victim's pulse like gray fire. The curse anchor was not a monster in the normal sense. It was a black nail hammered through the hospital bell, wrapped in hair-thin chains of shadow. Each chain reached across the city into someone infected. If we broke it wrong, the curse would snap back into the victims and finish them. I searched. How to remove curse anchor safely. Answer: make curse choose new target, then seal it while distracted. New target was me. Naturally, he needed the reverse echo first. The old radio station basement was filled with radios that whispered everyone's worst thoughts in their own voices. He tried to break Serena by whispering that every person she saved would eventually fear her blade. She cut the radio in half without changing expression. He tried to break Felix by whispering that every gadget he made was useless junk. Felix picked up the radio, improved the speaker, and made it repeat the insult in a funnier voice. Then it reached me. The radio whispered that I had no power, that every victory was stolen from the system's search results, that without the search bar, I was nothing but a scared guy with fast fingers and too many props. I stood there in the dark basement, listening. Then I searched. Best comeback to evil radio insulting Owen. Answer: ask why it is losing to a scared guy with fast fingers and too many props. I repeated that out loud. Every radio in the basement shut up. Felix fell to his knees laughing. The songless speaker unlocked. Reverse echo obtained. New title progress, emotionally unreadable. At the hospital roof, the curse noticed me the moment I stepped near the bell. My shadow stretched ahead of me like spilled ink. Gray hands rose from it, reaching for my ankles. I opened my inventory and threw out Felix's false shadows. They were not shadows in any scientific sense. They were black blankets cut into human shapes, soaked in ink from a cursed printer, and attached to wind-up toy feet. They waddled across the roof with heroic stupidity. The curse attacked all of them. For 3 seconds, the roof looked like a theater performance directed by a nightmare and sponsored by a toy store. Then the curse realized which shadow was real. Mine. It hit me like winter under my skin. My health bar locked, my left hand turned gray, my search window flickered. For the first time since the apocalypse started, the search bar lagged while I needed it most. Serena stepped forward, but I raised my hand. If she cut the anchor too early, people died. I typed with fingers that felt like stone. How to make curse laugh. No result. How to confuse curse. No result. What joke does the curse not understand? Answer: a joke with no victim. I almost laughed despite the pain. The curse was built from suffering. It understood fear, loss, anger, blame. It did not understand laughter that did not hurt anyone. So I did the dumbest thing I could think of. I pulled the purple rabbit head from my inventory and put it on. Then I started juggling rubber hammers in front of the cursed bell while my arm turned into stone. The curse stopped. Even the bell paused between rings. Felix whispered that this was either genius or the most tragic end possible. I dropped one hammer on my own foot. The reverse echo speaker captured the sound I made and played it backward. Instead of pain, it released a bright, ridiculous honk that rolled across the roof. The curse recoiled. Serena moved instantly. Her blade struck the black nail, not with brute force, but at the exact weak point my search bar had shown her earlier. The anchor popped out of the bell and floated above my shadow, confused, hungry, and suddenly homeless. I searched final seal. Answer. Contain inside prize capsule previously used by cheater. I left. The amusement center capsules still had residue from the hostile players who tried to steal from us. Apparently cheating had a flavor, and curses loved it. Felix rolled a capsule across the roof. The curse anchor lunged for it. I slammed the lid shut with a rubber hammer. Curse anchor contained. Permanent curse removed from all linked targets. Rewards shadow bookmark. Function save one location your shadow has touched and return to it once per day. I stared at the item description. Teleport. Not direct power technically, just a bookmark. The system loved pretending it was innocent. Back at the safe zone, the gray marks vanished from the infected. The kid on the stairs flexed his hand and burst into tears. People cheered so loudly the tunnel shook. I tried to slip away before anyone made it emotional. I failed. Serena found me near the fountain, washing cursed ink off my shoes. She told me I had risked myself recklessly. I said I had prepared. She looked at the rabbit head under my arm. I admitted I had prepared stupidly. She accepted that as accurate. The shadow bookmark changed everything. Before I could move fast with flash hop, but only in short bursts. Now I could touch a dangerous location with my shadow, save it, leave, and return at the worst possible moment for anyone trying to be evil. I became a rumor that popped out of corners. A group of player killers tried to take over a water depot while I was supposedly across the city. I had bookmarked the depot wall that morning after searching suspicious quiet areas. When they pulled weapons on the guards, my shadow appeared on the wall behind them. Then I stepped out of it holding a copied soda cannon. The lead attacker asked how I got there. I searched funniest answer. Answer. Delivery. So I said delivery. Felix's soda cannon fired blue raspberry foam so sticky it pinned everyone to the ceiling. The safe zone guards took their weapons, and the fountain accepted them into containment after I proved they attacked first. The system did not reward cruelty, but it did reward clean counters, and I was becoming very good at letting villains step into their own punishment. Another group tried to poison our food storage. I searched the exact ingredient they used and found out it made mushrooms sing before becoming dangerous. I placed copied microphones near every crate. At midnight, the entire storage room began humming. We caught the poisoners because they were the only ones trying to silence vegetables. Felix built a mushroom choir after that. Serena banned it from training hours. Then the ranking board updated. My name rose to rank 3. The 2 names above me belonged to raw power monsters from other districts. One had cleared 6 battle arenas with lightning fists. Another had defeated a canyon serpent alone. I did not know them, and they did not know me. But everyone in our district saw rank 3 beside my name and remembered day 1, when they laughed because my status had a search bar. Some looked ashamed. Some looked afraid. The afraid ones were smarter. Because the next day, the system announced a citywide challenge. Midnight signal climb. Reach the top of the black antenna before dawn. No flight skills, no elevator skills, no external ladders, rewards based on height achieved. I hated the name because it sounded like the start of some dramatic nonsense, but thankfully there was no king, no throne, and no ceremony. Just a giant black radio antenna that had grown from the tallest broadcast building like a spear stabbed into the clouds. The strongest players gathered at the base. They stretched, they checked gear, they summoned weapons, they bragged about agility, strength, stamina, wall running, hook chains, and wind steps. I stood among them with a backpack full of stolen hotel towels, copied toy capsules, a rubber hammer, 3 false shadows, and 1 flashlight that screamed when pointed at heights. Someone laughed and asked if I was here to search for stairs. I typed, "Are there stairs inside black antenna?" Answer, "Yes." The laugh died in my throat because even I did not expect that. Where are stairs inside black antenna? Answer. Hidden between signal pulses, visible only during silence. How to create silence? Answer. Make all climbers stop shouting. I looked around at the arrogant crowd roaring about victory. That was the real impossible condition. When midnight struck, everyone charged up the antenna. The structure twisted like a living thing, throwing out pulses of black sound that knocked people off the lower beams. Players swung hooks, stabbed spikes, leaped between wires, and smashed monsters shaped like radio static. I did not climb. I walked to the base and searched. Best way to make climbers stop shouting. Answer. Make them listen. To what? Answer. Their own embarrassing battle cries delayed by 3 seconds. Felix had never built something faster. He connected the songless speaker, a dozen copied microphones, and the amusement center ticket machine for no reason except that it sparked nicely. Then he pointed the device at the antenna. Every shout from the climbers played back 3 seconds later in a squeaky carnival voice. I am unstoppable became I am unstoppable in the voice of a nervous chipmunk. Fear my blade became fear my blade with a honk at the end. One player yelled his skill name so dramatically that the echo repeated it as if a duck had fallen downstairs. Within minutes, the climbers stopped shouting out of pure shame. Silence opened. A thin staircase appeared inside the antenna, made of pale signal light. I stepped onto it. The strongest players saw me walking upward through the center while they clung to wires outside, and the rage in their eyes warmed me better than a campfire. Of course, the stairs were not safe. Nothing free was ever free. Each step showed a question from the system, and wrong answers dropped you 20 floors. First question. What is your strongest attribute? I searched. Best answer. Answer. Adaptation. Correct. Second question. What weapon do you trust most? Search. Best answer. Answer. Preparation. Correct. Third question. What will you sacrifice for victory? I started to type, then stopped. That smelled like a trap. The apocalypse loved forcing dramatic sacrifices because it made people panic, but I had learned that not every question deserved the answer it wanted. I searched. How to answer without sacrificing anything important. Answer. Sacrifice altitude. I jumped backward down 3 steps. The staircase flashed. Correct. The system accepted that I had sacrificed height for safety. A player outside saw me drop slightly and laughed. Then a static monster bit his boot and he vanished into the fog. I did not laugh back. Not every fall was funny. Halfway up, the jealous climbers realized I had found a hidden path. A wind user launched himself through the antenna wall and landed on the light stairs ahead of me. His eyes were wild from effort and pride. He demanded I show him how the path worked. I searched his intention. Answer. Attack after receiving answer. I sighed. People were so predictable it almost felt rude. I searched non-lethal punishment for hostile climber on signal stairs. Answer. Make him answer question meant for Owen. I smiled and stepped aside. The next stair lit up under him. Question. What are you without applause? The wind user froze. That was a brutal question for someone who had spent the entire climb yelling his own name. He answered strength. Wrong. The stair opened. He dropped screaming into a containment net near the base, completely unharmed except for his pride. The system labeled him temporarily disqualified for aggression. I kept climbing. Near the top, black sound became thick enough to see. It wrapped around my arms, trying to drag me into memories of every time people mocked me. Day 1 laughter echoed. Useless help menu, no combat power, search boy. Coward. The antenna wanted me angry. Anger makes people climb faster and think worse. I searched. How to pass black sound without anger. Answer. Turn insults into directions. So I listened again. No combat power. That meant avoid combat. Help menu. That meant help existed. Coward. That meant I knew when to run. Search boy. That meant I knew what to ask. Each insult became a step. I reached the top at dawn. Below me, the city glowed with safe zone barriers, monster fires, and broken roads. Above me, the clouds opened around the antenna tip. A reward chest floated there, locked by a signal puzzle. Search. How to open signal chest. Answer. Broadcast one truth. I thought about saying something heroic. Then I looked down at everyone watching. I activated the antenna speaker and said I had no combat skill on day 1. The city heard me. Then I said I still did not have one. The chest opened. Reward query chain. Function combined 3 related searches into 1 strategic answer once per day. New title acquired, Stare Thief. When I returned to the base, nobody asked if the search bar was useless. They asked what I would search next. That scared me a little. Not because I disliked respect. Because respect can become dependency if you let it. So I made a rule: every rescue team had to learn how to survive without waiting for me. I used the search bar to build training routes, not just traps, where to stand when ash wolves circle. How to tell if a treasure chest is breathing, what mushrooms are safe unless they harmonize, which alleys echo before monsters arrive. People listened. They practiced. Serena trained them until their arms shook. Felix built safe versions of his gadgets, which meant they only exploded when asked politely. I searched for hidden manuals, old bunker drills, and monster behavior patterns. Slowly, the safe zone stopped feeling like my trick and started feeling like our machine. That was when the lockbox storm hit. Gray clouds rolled over the city, and thousands of metal cubes fell from the sky on tiny parachutes. They landed on roofs, streets, buses, fountains, and unfortunately one on Felix's head. He said it sounded hollow, then realized he meant the cube, not himself. Each lockbox had a glowing countdown. Open before 1 hour or release contained monster. Inside, some had supplies, some had weapons, some had traps, some had sleeping goblins who woke up angry if the box was shaken. The city erupted. People sprinted everywhere, desperate to open boxes before monsters spilled out. The problem was that each box had a different unlocking condition: strength, blood, song, heat, cold, riddles, rotating symbols. One box demanded a sincere compliment and bit anyone who lied. I searched. Best strategy for lockbox storm. Answer: do not open boxes, sort them. I blinked. Sort how? Answer: monster boxes are heavier by 2 heartbeats. That was not a normal measurement. How to measure heartbeats of lockboxes? Answer: place ear against metal and listen. Absolutely not. Search alternative. Answer: use screaming lamps. Much better. Felix and I ran through streets with a wagon full of screaming lamps. When a lamp got near a supply box, it hummed nervously. When it got near a monster box, it screamed like it owed money. We marked the monster boxes with copied red towels and rolled them downhill into the old subway maintenance pit. Players from other groups saw us ignoring treasure boxes and assumed we were scared. That made them greedy. A bunch of armed players tried to shove aside 2 kids who had found a food box. I was 3 streets away, but my shadow bookmark was saved on the bakery wall behind them. I stepped out of the shadow, holding one of the heavy monster boxes. The armed players froze. I asked if they wanted treasure so badly. They attacked, obviously. I searched box condition while dodging. Answer: opens when struck by hostile intent. Beautiful. I placed the box between us and lifted both hands like I was defenseless. Their leader swung his mace into it. The box opened. A tiny thunder pig jumped out. It was the size of a cat, round as a dumpling and unbelievably angry. Lightning sparked from its ears. It looked at the mace, looked at the player, and decided the mace had insulted its family. The thunder pig chased the entire group down the street, shocking only their backsides. Non-lethal, educational, hilarious. I searched if the thunder pig could be tamed. Answer: yes, with apple cores and sincere apology. The group spent 20 minutes apologizing to a pig while children collected their stolen food. We got a new safe zone mascot for 3 hours before it ate a battery and returned to the wild. As the storm continued, I used query chain for the first time. Search 1. Which lockboxes contain duplication resources? Search 2. Which can be opened without sacrifice? Search 3. Which are near hostile players planning theft? Combined answer. Box cluster under glass bridge, contains Echo Ink, second sticker and hollow bag. Hostile players approaching from north stair. Recommended action, arrive late on purpose. Arrive late on purpose. My favorite kind of advice. The glass bridge crossed between 2 office towers. Dozens of lockboxes had landed there, making the bridge look like a treasure path in a video game designed by someone who hated knees. A group of hostile players reached it before us. They started opening boxes, stuffing items into packs, and kicking smaller players away. I waited until they had gathered all 3 rare resources. Then I walked onto the bridge alone. They recognized me immediately. That was new. Fear flashed across their faces, but greed held them in place. Their leader told me the loot was theirs. I searched. Are they willing to attack first? Answer: yes, if provoked lightly. Light provocation was an art. I pointed at the hollow bag and asked if it came in a size for people with actual plans. He attacked. The bridge recognized aggression and woke up. Glass walls rose on both sides. A lockbox above us opened, releasing a referee sprite with a whistle. Dual theft prevention event activated. Rules: aggressor must win honest contest to keep contested loot. The hostile players grinned because they thought honest contest meant fighting. Then the referee sprite announced the contest. Inventory organization speed. I almost felt bad. Almost. My entire life since day one had become sorting weird garbage under pressure. I organized potions by color, decoys by stupidity level, towels by curse resistance, and Felix gadgets by chance of public embarrassment. The hostile players had shoved loot into bags like angry raccoons. The countdown began. I opened the hollow bag, slapped second stickers onto duplicate slots, poured Echo ink over labels, and sorted every item by danger, value, timer, and comedic potential. Hostile players panicked. One put a fire gem beside dry paper. Another stored a biting coin pouch with loose fingers. Their bag exploded into feathers. Contest complete. Winner Owens. Loot reassigned. Aggressors sentenced to inventory timeout. Their bags vanished for 6 hours. They just stood there, suddenly holding everything they owned in their arms. Then the Thunder Pig returned from nowhere and chased them off the bridge. Reward gained: hollow bag. Function: stores copied items without reducing their duration, while bag remains closed. Reward gained: second sticker. Function: mark one duplicated item as real for one action. Reward gained: Echo ink. Function: repeat the last written command on a non-living object. I held those rewards in my hands and felt the entire shape of my power change. Search bar gave answers, copybox gave temporary duplicates, refund badge recovered consumed items, repeat key reopened certain rewards, shadow bookmark moved me, query chain planned. Now hollow bag could preserve duplicates, second sticker could make one copy real for one action, and Echo ink could force objects to repeat commands. That was not a build. That was a crime scene waiting to happen. Serena saw the look on my face and told Felix to take 3 steps back. Felix took 2 steps forward. The first thing I tested was simple. I copied a folding wall, placed a second sticker on it, and ordered it to block. For one action, the copied wall became real enough to stop a charging stone ape. The ape bounced backward into a fountain, and the fountain awarded me a civic defense point. The second test was worse. I wrote open on a door with Echo ink. It opened, then it closed, then it opened again because Echo ink repeated the command. Then every copied door nearby also tried to open because Felix had spilled ink on the copybox handle. For 10 minutes, the safe zone sounded like applause from haunted furniture. Serena banned Echo ink indoors. I searched safe way around Serena ban. Answer: do not. Even the search bar feared her. 3 days after the lockbox storm, the city produced its ugliest event yet. The Ash Coliseum rose from the old baseball field. I did not like arenas. Arenas were designed for people with muscles, rage, and tragic backstories. I had 1.5 of those at most, depending on how badly my legs hurt. The objective appeared above the stadium. Survive 7 champion rounds, teams allowed. Rewards increase if lower-level players remain alive. That last sentence changed everything. Strong players wanted to clear it with only elites for bragging rights, but the real reward came from protecting weaker players through all 7 rounds. The system was daring everyone to be decent in the most dangerous place possible. I searched. Best team size for Ash Coliseum maximum reward. Answer: 100 participants, minimum 50 low-level survivors. Serena read it and said no. Felix read it and said we would need more snacks. I agreed with Felix, which made Serena look at both of us like she was deciding whether the Demon King was truly the worst threat. We brought 100 people. The Coliseum crowd was not human, empty armor. No, I avoided that entire category on principle. The seats were filled with smoky silhouettes, faceless and clapping out of rhythm. The sand was gray ash that swallowed footprints. 7 gates lined the arena wall. Round 1 released blade rabbits. Not cute rabbits, not normal rabbits, rabbits with sword ears and the speed of thrown knives. The low-level survivors panicked. I searched. Blade rabbit weakness. Answer. Competitive grooming. I stared. How to trigger competitive grooming. Answer. Show one rabbit a cleaner rabbit. Felix, with no hesitation, threw a copied plush rabbit into the arena. Every blade rabbit froze. The plush rabbit was spotless. Blade rabbits became furious at each other for not being spotless. They stopped attacking us and started grooming themselves with their sword ears, polishing so aggressively that sparks flew. Round cleared. Serena whispered that she hated how often my plans worked. Round 2 released a sand giant with a hollow chest and fists bigger than cars. It stomped toward our weakest group. Sarge. Sand giant defeat method without combat. Answer. Fill hollow chest with responsibility. I almost closed the window. What counts as responsibility? Answer. Anything entrusted by frightened people. That was strangely beautiful and also deeply inconvenient. I told everyone to hand me one small item they cared about but could risk losing. Buttons, bent coins, ribbons, broken charms, a toy car, a photo, and a cracked case. I threw them into a copied laundry basket, slapped a second sticker on it, and flash-hopped onto the giant's shoulder. The giant tried to crush me. Serena cut across its wrist, not deep, just enough to slow the swing. Felix fired a soda burst under my feet, launching me into the hollow chest. I dumped the basket inside. The sand giant stopped. Its chest glowed with 100 tiny lights. Responsibility accepted. Champion pacified. The giant turned around and sat gently at the edge of the arena like a tired guardian. Every survivor got their item back afterward, warm and clean. Round 3 was worse because it involved thinking. Puzzle serpent emerged, made of linked stone tiles with symbols on each scale. Every time someone attacked the wrong tile, it grew longer. The strong players who had joined us from outside immediately made it longer. I searched. Puzzle serpent solution. Answer. Read from tail to head, not head to tail. The serpent moved too fast for anyone to read the tail. How to slow puzzle serpent. Answer. Ask it a question it wants to answer. I stepped into its path and shouted the first thing that came to mind. Why are you so long? The serpent stopped. Apparently it had been waiting its entire life for someone to ask. The symbols along its body lit up while it proudly explained, through carved pictures, that every wrong attack added a segment. I nodded like I understood its artistic suffering. While it bragged, I read the tail symbols through the search bar and shouted instructions to Serena. She tapped the correct scales in reverse order with the flat of her blade. The serpent shrank segment by segment until it became a bracelet. Reward question serpent bracelet. Function once per day, force a monster to pause if asked a question related to its nature. I put it on immediately. Felix asked if it worked on Serena. Serena asked if he wanted to test it. Felix became wise. Round 4 released a rain of burning feathers, not a monster, just thousands of flaming feathers falling from the sky, shields overheated, water evaporated, panic spread fast. Sarge. How to survive burning feather rain with 100 people. Answer. Make the feathers choose a prettier sky. At this point, I no longer questioned poetry. I searched prettier sky. Answer. Reflect sunset under ash sand using echo ink. We had no sunset. We had a gray Colosseum ceiling. But we had echo ink, copied glass panels from the Sky Prism event, and a hollow bag full of preserved shiny trash. Felix scattered glass panels across the sand. I wrote shine with echo ink on the largest panel. It shone, then shone again, then forced every copied panel to repeat the light. The ash sand reflected it upward until the arena floor looked like a fake sunset. Burning feathers curved away from the people and fell into the reflected sky instead. They landed in the glass panels, trapped as tiny flames. Reward feather lanterns. Function portable fire that refuses to burn allies. Round 5 was where the Colosseum tried to break the group. The gate opened and nothing came out. Instead, every participant saw a different exit door appear in the arena wall. Each door showed what they wanted most: safety, family, food, sleep, power, revenge, a normal day. The system message appeared. Leave now and keep personal rewards. Stay and risk all rewards for group clear. People trembled. I could not blame them. The apocalypse had squeezed everyone until selfishness felt like oxygen. I searched. Are exit doors real? Answer. Yes, but one way, leaving abandons remaining participants. How to help everyone choose to stay without forcing them. Answer. Show them current survival odds together. I used query chain even though it had not fully cooled down. The window burned my eyes as I forced the searches together. Survival odds if half leave. Survival odds if all stay. Best formation for all stay. Combined answer. Half leave 32%. All stay 88% with Owen Central Command, Serena Mobile Defense, Felix Gadget Support, Low-Level Rotation Shield. I projected the result on the Coliseum wall using the antenna speaker lens we had taken from the signal climb. No speech, no guilt, no dramatic order. Just the numbers. Then I sat in the center of the arena and opened my backpack like I was ready. One by one, people stepped away from the doors. The doors vanished. Round cleared. The reward bell sounded softer than usual. Round 6 punished us for feeling inspired. The glass tyrant rose from the ash, not a copy, not a person-shaped trick, just a huge transparent creature with 7 arms, each holding a different weapon made of hardened light. It adapted to attacks by changing color. Fire made it blue, ice made it red, blades made it smoke. Every normal strategy only taught it faster. I searched. Glass tyrant weakness. Answer. Unclear attacks. That was Felix's entire religion. I shouted for unclear attacks only. The strong players looked confused. Felix looked chosen by destiny. He launched a soup pot tied to a feather lantern, a rubber hammer glued to a screaming lamp, a soda cannon firing socks, and the mushroom choir rolling on a skateboard. Serena used the flat of her blade to redirect every object at impossible angles. I copied the weirdest items mid-flight and slapped second stickers on them just before impact. The glass tyrant could not adapt because it could not identify what was happening. Neither could we. A sock hit its knee and released blue foam. A singing mushroom bounced off its head and shouted a note so flat the glass cracked. The rubber hammer struck its chest, but the screaming lamp attached to it shrieked downward, which somehow counted as an aerial blunt sonic insult. The tyrant shattered into harmless crystal rain. Round 6 cleared. New hidden score, nonsense synergy increased. Round 7 opened all remaining gates. The arena went silent. A small black dog walked out. It sat in the ash and wagged its tail. Nobody moved, because by then we had learned the apocalypse never gave free puppies. I searched. Round 7 champion identity. Answer. Mercy hound. Weakness. Answer. Cruelty. I frowned. That meant attacking it would make it stronger. How to clear round. Answer. Protect it from those who cannot resist hurting weakness. That was nasty. The Coliseum was testing whether power could stand near something harmless without crushing it. Most of our group understood immediately, but a few outside players saw an easy target and moved before anyone could stop them. One raised a spear. I had already searched the first attacker. I shadow bookmarked behind him, grabbed his belt, and slapped a second sticker onto a copied toy capsule under his feet. For one action, the fake capsule became real. He dropped inside it before his spear moved. Another tried to cast a spell. Serena tapped his wrist, turning the spell upward into the empty seats. Felix fired a net made of licorice ropes and feather lanterns, pinning 2 more gently to the ground. The Mercy Hound watched. Then it stood, walked through our formation, and pressed its forehead against the kid who had survived the permanent curse. The kid started crying again, but this time he laughed too. Round 7 cleared. Full group survival achieved. Maximum reward granted. The Ash Coliseum collapsed into light. Every low-level survivor who stayed received a protective mark that reduced lethal damage once. The safe zone received Guardian Ward nodes, small stone pillars that could be placed around shelters to slow hostile players and monsters. Serena received a blade sheath that stored 1 cut without releasing it until later. Felix received a toolkit that apologized before exploding. I received a search bar upgrade. Preview snippet. Function, see the first line of an answer before submitting a full search 3 times per day. It sounded small. It was not. Before, every important search cost time. Now I could glance at possible answers before committing. It turned guessing into scanning. It made me faster than panic. And it made evil people much easier to embarrass. The proof came that same night. Hidden group entered the safe zone pretending to be wounded survivors. They had fake blood, torn clothes, and believable limps. They almost passed inspection because everyone was exhausted after the Coliseum. My preview snippet pulsed when I looked at them. I did not even type a full search. I just focused on the first one. Search preview. Hidden weapon under bandage. Second one. Poison needle in boot. Third one. Intent open gate during monster wave. I smiled gently. They smiled back, thinking I believed them. I told the guards to bring blankets, hot food, and the apology chairs. The fake survivors relaxed. Then they saw the chairs. The apology chairs were Felix's invention after the permanent curse incident. They looked like normal folding chairs, except if someone sat in them while planning harm inside the safe zone. The chair folded around them like a metal clam and projected their intention in glowing letters above their head. Serena hated the name. I loved it. All six sat down. All six chairs snapped shut. Glowing letters appeared. Open gate, steel cores, blame children. The entire safe zone went quiet. One chair added, also steel soup. Felix took that personally. We sent them to containment. The fountain gave me a tiny reward called Trust Filter, which made hostile intent glow faintly when someone entered a marked safe route. It did not catch thoughts. It did not judge personality. It only reacted to immediate planned harm. That mattered. I did not want to become someone who punished people for being scared, angry, or desperate. I wanted to punish people who chose to hurt others and were dumb enough to do it near me. The next few days became a blur of impossible errands. We escorted families through a street where every crosswalk tried to teleport pedestrians into random shops. I searched the pattern and discovered the crosswalks obeyed traffic signals from before the apocalypse. Felix repaired a light with 3 batteries and a feather lantern. The crosswalks politely let everyone pass, then teleported a chasing monster into a discount shoe store. He cleared a library where books flew off shelves and tried to spoil people's worst memories out loud. I searched the librarian monster's favorite genre and found out it loved mysteries but hated solved endings. So I tore the last page out of a copied detective novel, threw it down the main aisle, and watched every book swarm after it in fury. Serena sealed the doors. Felix labeled the building spoilers contained. We found a hidden kitchen dungeon under a restaurant where knives floated, soup boiled with faces, and the boss was a giant chef hat with no chef. It challenged me to cook something worthy. I searched easiest dish accepted by haunted chef hat. Answer: anything made with courage and onions. I had onions, courage was debatable. Felix built a pressure cooker from a shield and a car battery. Serena chopped vegetables so fast the onions never knew they had died. I copied bread, used echo ink to write toast, and accidentally created an army of toast slices that launched themselves into the soup one after another. The haunted chef hat cried steam tears. Dungeon cleared. Reward emergency stew pot. Function feed 50 people once per day if someone tells it a brave lie. A brave lie, apparently, was saying we were not scared while serving dinner. That pot became one of our most valuable treasures. The safe zone grew stronger because people were not fighting on empty stomachs anymore. Then came the first monster wave after the Colosseum. Not a normal swarm, a night tide. Black water flooded the streets even though there was no river nearby. Shapes moved under the surface. Lamp posts bent like reeds. Cars floated past with ghosts sitting politely inside, staring through windows. The system warning appeared. Night tide rising, shelter above 3rd floor or within marked safe zone. Problem: 2 shelters were underground. Another problem: one of them held most of our medical supplies. Worst problem: night tide contained drowned bells that rang when they sensed fear. If enough bells rang together, the water level jumped. I searched how to move underground shelter before night tide reaches it. Answer: use turtle barricade. Felix whispered that this was the greatest day of his life. The turtle barricade had evolved again after eating strength fruit and being praised by the search bar. It now had wheels, a shell made from copied folding walls, and a tiny stone face that looked determined if you were generous. I searched turtle barricade maximum load. Answer: 1 shelter if emotionally encouraged. So we emotionally encouraged it. 100 people shouted compliments while Felix attached chains, ropes, bus axles, and soda boosters. Serena cut away street debris. I used Shadow Bookmark to jump between anchor points, placing second stickers on copied support beams so they became real long enough to hold tunnels open. The turtle pulled. The underground shelter groaned. Then the entire medical bunker slid upward through a collapsed subway ramp like a sleeping whale being dragged out of the sea by the world's weirdest rescue team. The night tide surged behind it. Drowned bells rose from the black water, mouths open. Fear spread through the crowd, and the bells began to ring. I searched. How to silence drowned bells without courage speech. Answer. Make louder worse sound. Felix was already holding the train horn. I told him to do it. The horn screamed like a goose fighting a thunderstorm inside a metal tunnel. Every drowned bell cracked from the insult. The black water recoiled. The turtle barricade dragged the medical shelter into the marked safe zone with 12 seconds left. Wave objective completed. Reward tied anchor. Function fix one structure in place against forced movement. I gave it to the medical shelter and told the turtle I was proud. The surge bar pulsed. Turtle barricade morale increased. Serena saw me reading that and said she did not want to know. I told her she absolutely did not. That night, while everyone celebrated surviving the tide, I climbed to the platform roof alone. The city looked bigger than before, not physically, but in my head. Every route I learned opened 3 more questions. Every safe zone revealed 3 more dangers. Every tool I gained made me stronger, but also made the next problem bigger because now I could reach it. I opened the search bar. How far does the apocalypse game cover? Answer. Global. I already knew that, but seeing it still made my stomach drop. How many final safe zones exist? Answer. Unknown to current access. That was new. My search bar could find anything that already existed inside the system, but access still mattered. Some answers hid behind range, conditions, or progress. I was not omniscient. I was just ahead. Ahead was enough. A soft footstep sounded behind me. Serena stood there with 2 bowls of emergency stew pot soup. She handed me one without asking. We sat under a broken billboard while distant monsters moved between buildings like shadows with teeth. She asked why I kept searching even when there was no immediate danger. I almost gave a joke answer. Instead, I said because the first night taught me something. Fear is loudest when the world feels random. If I can turn random into a route, a rule, a weakness, a trick, then people can move. They can breathe. They can choose. Serena did not answer for a while. Then she said my power was annoying. I said I knew. She said annoying was better than useless. From Serena, that was basically a parade. The next morning, the rankings updated again. Rank 2, Owen. The entire safe zone erupted. Felix set off a gadget that sprayed confetti shaped like tiny search bars. Serena pretended not to care, but she stood where she could see the ranking board clearly. I stared at my name. Rank 2. Not strongest. Not vastest. Not blessed with a legendary sword, or a dragon bloodline, or a tragic chosen one glow. Second. With a search bar, a rabbit head, and the willingness to ask questions no sane person would type. The person at rank 1 still belonged to another district. Their class showed only as Stormbreaker. Their score was higher than mine by a lot. For a moment, old insecurity tried to rise. Then my search bar offered a preview without me asking. Potential search. Can Owen surpass rank 1 without fighting them? Preview. Yes. I closed the window and laughed. Of course. The apocalypse had spent 16 days trying to teach me that every ladder had stairs hidden somewhere. I just had to find them. That afternoon, a signal flare rose from the Western District. Not our flare, not a monster warning. A player flare, bright orange, blinking in a pattern that meant surrender. A group of survivors was trapped inside an old convention center surrounded by iron moths. Moths ate metal, which meant weapons, doors, barricades, and most armor became snacks. Not my favorite enemy type, but at least nobody in armor was acting like my rival. I searched. Convention center, survivors, time remaining. Answer. 4 hours before iron moth nest hatches. How many survivors? Answer. 212. That number made the decision for me. We could not move the whole safe zone, and we could not send a traditional rescue squad because the iron moths would eat their gear, so I built a rescue plan around being worthless to moths. No metal. We armed people with wooden broom handles, plastic trays, rubber hammers, glass panels, feather lanterns, and terrible courage. Felix nearly cried when I told him he had to leave most gadgets behind. Then I searched. What do iron moths refuse to eat? Answer. Plastic, glass, wet bread, and sincere poetry. I ignored poetry until Felix started writing something on a napkin. The convention center was wrapped in a living silver cloud. Iron moths clung to walls, chewing through beams. Every bite rang like a tiny bell. The trapped survivors watched from upper windows, too scared to move. I used preview snippet to test search paths quickly. Best entrance. Preview. Not doors. Best roof access. Preview. Too late. Best way inside with no metal. Preview. Bread River. I did not want to know, but I searched it fully. Answer. Iron moth larvae avoid wet bread due to yeast static. Create moving path with soaked loaves through service tunnel. I stared at the answer. Felix whispered that the stew pot could make bread if lied to bravely. So we lied to a pot. We told it we were professional bakers and not emotionally overwhelmed. It produced 50 loaves. We copied them, soaked them in fountain water, preserved them in the hollow bag, and laid them through the service tunnel like the saddest red carpet ever made. The iron moths recoiled from the wet bread path. We moved inside. The convention center was full of display booths from before the world ended. Camping gear, kitchen appliances, toy robots, fitness machines, and one entire booth dedicated to luxury massage chairs. The trapped survivors had barricaded themselves in the main hall using plastic tables and prayer. The Iron Moth Queen hung from the ceiling, huge and bright, wings like folded saw blades. Her belly pulsed with eggs. I searched. Iron Moth Queen weakness. Answer. Cannot resist rare metal flavor. That seemed unhelpful since giving metal to a metal-eating monster sounded like feeding a fire gasoline. Search rare metal flavor that incapacitates not strengthens. Answer. Fake gold from prize machine coated with Echo Ink command sleep. The amusement center had fake gold coins. I had copied them because of course I had. Echo Ink could command objects. Could it command flavor? The system apparently thought so. Felix painted sleep onto fake coins, while Serena protected the survivors from moth swarms using glass panels and wooden poles. I placed second stickers on a handful of fake coins, making them real enough for one bite. Then I needed the queen to attack me. That part was easy. I walked under her nest wearing the purple rabbit head, held up the coins, and shouted that her wings looked like rusty scissors. The queen shrieked. She dove. I threw the coins into her open mouth and flash-hopped sideways. She swallowed, snapped her wings once, and immediately fell asleep midair. A moth queen the size of a bus crashed into a massage chair booth. The chairs turned on. The queen began receiving deep tissue relaxation at maximum setting. Iron moth swarm pacified. Nest hatch delayed indefinitely. Reward moth glass spool. Function create transparent thread that cannot be eaten by metal-consuming monsters. Rescue completed. 212 survivors joined our route back, walking over wet bread while iron moths watched in disgust. One old man thanked me and asked what class I had. I told him archive trickster. He said that sounded fake. I said most real things did now. The rescue pushed my score higher. Not enough for rank 1, but close enough that the whole city ranking board flickered between us for an hour like it was thinking. That flicker caused trouble. Because the moment I nearly touched rank 1, stronger players stopped treating me like a weird local problem and started treating me like a prize. 3 challengers came that evening. They did not give names, which I appreciated because I was running out of room in my head. They stood at the edge of the safe zone and demanded a duel for ranking points. One carried lightning in his fists. One controlled stone spikes. One had a bow that shot arrows made of wind. No armor rival, no tragic speech, just 3 people who thought the shortest path upward was through me. I searched. Do challengers intend fair duel? Answer. Number coordinated attack after duel begins. I sighed loudly enough for them to hear. Then I accepted. Serena looked at me like she was already preparing my funeral and my lecture. I whispered that I had searched. She relaxed by 0.5%. The duel field formed outside the safe zone, a circle of pale light in the street. Rules floated above us. No lethal damage, ring out aloud. Team challenges allowed if accepted. The 3 challengers smiled because they thought outnumbering me was clever. I smiled because the rules said ring out. Sarge. Fastest ring out against 3 stronger challengers. Answer. Make ring moves. How to make dual ring moves. Answer. Place arena boundary on mobile structure before activation. I looked down. The pale circle had formed around my feet. And around the turtle barricade parked under a tarp behind me. Felix was a genius menace. The duel began. Lightning Fighter rushed first. I threw a copied glass panel with a second sticker. His lightning bounced off, struck the Echo ink word roll written on the turtle's shell, and the turtle moved. The entire dual ring moved with it. The challengers stumbled. The stone spike user tried to anchor the ground. Too bad the ground inside the ring was now technically the turtle's shell for boundary purposes. His spikes popped out sideways, forming decorative back spikes that made the turtle look extremely proud. The wind archer fired 3 arrows at my legs. Serena's delayed cut flashed from her new sheath across the air and released the cut she had stored earlier. The arrows split into harmless ribbons. She was not in the duel. Her cut was. The rules allowed stored effects. I had searched. Felix triggered soda boosters. The turtle barricade surged forward at the speed of a mildly determined shopping cart. The dual ring rolled down the street with us inside it. The 3 challengers tried to keep balance while I flash-hopped between coppice folding walls, rubber hammering ankles, throwing wet bread, and asking the question Serpent Bracelet if lightning fists counted as overcompensation. Bracelet did not answer, but the lightning fighter hesitated, offended. That was enough. I opened the hollow bag and released 50 preserved toy capsules across the turtle shell. Echo Ink repeated the word open on all of them. They popped under the challenger's feet like bubbles. One challenger bounced upward, crossed the moving boundary, and got ringed out. The wind archer tried to jump clear with air steps. I searched his landing point, shadow bookmarked there, stepped out behind him, and held up a sign Felix had made. Wrong way. He twisted midair in shock and landed outside the ring. Ring out. The stone spike user dug both hands into the turtle shell and refused to move. The turtle did not like that. It activated its pride. I do not know how else to describe it. The stone spikes on its shell glowed, the wheels spun, and the turtle performed a full-body shake like a wet dog made of barricades. The challenger flew upward, landed on a coppice mattress outside the ring, and stared at the sky in silence. Duel complete. Winner Owens. Bonus no direct damage dealt. New title acquired, Moving Arena Menace. Ranking updated. Rank 1 Owens. The city board exploded with light. For about 5 seconds, nobody made a sound. Then the safe zone roared. I should have felt triumphant. I did. But I also felt the weight of every eye turning toward me from every district connected to the ranking board. Rank 1 was not a finish line. It was a lighthouse. And monsters loved light. The search bar blinked. Suggested search. What notices rank 1? I typed it because apparently peace was illegal. Answer. High tier field bosses, hidden class gates, hostile rank players, Demon King's forward eyes. Forward eyes. That sounded disgusting. Search. Demon King's forward eyes location. Answer. Already inside city, disguised as red stars reflected in broken windows. I looked at the shattered office towers around us. Every broken window reflected the sunset. And in several of them, tiny red stars blinked back. Not attacking. Watching. Nobody else noticed until I pointed. Serena drew her blade. Felix raised a gadget. The safe zone guards lifted spears. But I searched before anyone moved. Can Demon King's forward eyes be destroyed now? Answer. Yes, but destruction alerts main invasion path sooner. Can they be blinded without alert? Answer. Yes, show them something they cannot interpret. I smiled slowly. Felix asked if this was another emotional damage plan. I told him it was worse. We spent the next hour staging the stupidest defense drill in human history. We placed the turtle barricade in a party hat. We arranged apology chairs in a circle. We made the mushroom choir perform. We had captured hostile players in capsules attend unwillingly as audience members. Felix's toolkit apologized before exploding glitter. The emergency stew pot produced soup after everyone bravely lied that this was normal. Then I stood in the middle wearing the purple rabbit head, holding the question Serpent Bracelet up like a microphone. Every broken window reflected us. Every red star watched. I searched. Best question to overload Demon King's forward eyes. Answer. Ask why humans laugh when afraid. So I asked. The red stars flickered. Mushroom choir sang off-key. The screaming lamps harmonized badly. The apology chairs displayed fake hostile thoughts that Felix had written, including steal soup again and fear turtle beauty. The captured players shouted complaints, which the amusement capsules translated into carnival jingles. The forward eyes tried to understand. They failed. One by one, red reflections turned gray. Demon King's forward eyes blinded for 7 days. Reward obscured route. Function hide one group movement from boss level tracking for 6 hours. That reward mattered more than the rank. Because 6 hidden hours could move civilians, supplies, or a strike team through territory the enemy thought it controlled. It also meant the Demon King was now real enough for the system to mention indirect rewards. The joke portion of my brain quietly stepped aside. The next phase had started. But before I could chase the final safe zone, one more disaster crawled up from underneath us. The old subway map changed. Lines that had been dead since day one lit up in colors I had never seen. Stations that did not exist appeared between real stations. Platform names rearranged themselves when nobody looked directly at them. The fountain water rippled with a message. Lost line awakening. Passengers must board before dawn or become cargo. I disliked every word of that. Sarge, what is lost line? Answer. Subway route that collects people who hesitate during apocalypse transitions. Are people in our safe zone at risk? Answer. Yes, anyone marked by fear paralysis. Fear paralysis sounded unfair until I looked around and saw the people who had frozen during attacks, curses, tides, and monster waves. Not cowards, just people whose minds locked when the world broke too loudly. The lost line was coming for them. I searched. How to protect fear-paralyzed people from lost line. Answer. Board willingly and change destination. Of course. How to change lost line destination. Answer. Steal conductor whistle from first car. Where is conductor? Answer. Inside train made of delayed regrets. Felix whispered that he could build something out of delayed regrets if given enough wire. Serena told him not to. At 3 in the morning, the lost line arrived under platform 3. No tracks led there anymore, but the tunnel filled with cold blue light. A train slid out of the dark without sound. Its windows showed people sitting alone, each staring at something invisible. The doors opened. A pressure moved through the safe zone. People who had been hiding their fear suddenly stood and walked toward the train with empty eyes. I stepped in front of them. The conductor appeared in the first car doorway, not armored, not royal, not a copied enemy, just a tall shape in an old uniform, face hidden under a cap, holding a silver whistle between 2 long fingers. It lifted the whistle. I searched. How to stop conductor whistle before blown. Answer. Make train late. How to make supernatural train late. Answer. Delay boarding with convincing confusion. That sounded slow, and slow was dangerous with half the safe zone walking toward a ghost train, so I searched alternative. Answer. Release impossible passenger. What counts as impossible passenger? Answer. A vehicle that believes it is a person. Felix and I turned slowly toward the turtle barricade. The turtle rolled forward proudly. Serena closed her eyes. We put a copied scarf on the turtle because apparently passengers needed accessories. I searched if the lost line would accept it. Answer. Conductor uncertain. Good enough. The turtle rolled into the train doorway. The conductor lowered the whistle. For one priceless moment, the entire lost line hesitated. A shadow bookmarked behind the conductor, stepped out of the window reflection, and slapped a rubber hammer onto the whistle hand. Serena's stored cut flashed from across the platform, slicing the whistle chain. Felix's moth glass spool thread wrapped around the falling whistle before it hit the floor. I caught it. The train screamed without sound. Every fear-paralyzed person blinked awake. But stealing the whistle did not end the event. It made me conductor. Doors slammed shut with me, Serena, Felix, the turtle barricade, and one extremely confused train full of regrets inside. Destination required. The route map appeared in the air, stations flickered past. Panic surrender, wasted chance, last apology, unopened door, coward's rest. Bad destinations. Very bad. I searched. Safe destination on lost line. Answer. None. How to create safe destination. Answer. Name one and make passengers believe it. I looked at the silent passengers. They were not dead, they were pieces of people trapped in moments they had not moved through. Hesitation made cargo, action made passengers. I lifted the whistle. I did not make a speech. I hated speeches when action would do. I searched best destination name. Answer. Next stop. So I blew the whistle and said next stop. The map flickered. A new station appeared between all the ugly names. Next stop. The train lurched. The conductor lunged for me, but the turtle barricade blocked the aisle. The conductor tried to step around it. The apology chair we had accidentally left strapped to the turtle's shell snapped open and caught him. Glowing letters appeared above his head. Collect fear, prevent motion. Even supernatural public transportation had bad intentions. Serena kicked the chair shut. Felix rang every screaming lamp at once. Passengers blinked, stood, and reached for each other. The train slowed. Doors opened onto a platform that had not existed before. It was clean, warm, simple. A sign read "Next stop" in glowing paint. Every trapped passenger stepped out and dissolved into sparks that flew back toward the city. Lost line rerouted. Fear paralysis marks removed from safe zone residents. Reward conductor whistle. Function summon one empty car along any discovered rail once per day. Car cannot be used for escape from active boss arenas. I loved rewards with safety limits. They meant the item was powerful enough to need them. When we returned, dawn was breaking. The fear-paralyzed people remembered walking toward the train and nothing after. Some cried, some laughed. One asked why the turtle was wearing a scarf. Felix said because it had traveled. No one argued. That was the moment I realized something important. The search bar had not made me powerful by giving me strength. It had made me powerful by letting me connect ridiculous tools into answers nobody else could see. Each reward was weird alone. Together, they became a language. A cursed jacket could beat a claw machine. A rubber hammer could seal a curse. A turtle could confuse a ghost train. A soup pot could feed an army. A question could stop a serpent. A fake coin could put a moth queen to sleep. A search could turn fear into timing. And timing could beat strength before strength knew the fight had started. After the lost line, the final safe zone result finally stopped feeling like a distant objective. It felt like the next necessary move. Demon King's eyes were blinded for 7 days. We had 6-hour obscured route movement. We had guardian ward nodes from the Colosseum, tide anchor for shelters, the conductor whistle for rail movement. And enough captured hostile players, in containment, that evil people were beginning to send each other warnings about us. One warning got intercepted by a trust filter route. It simply said, "Do not attack the search guy. He makes the floor have opinions." I framed it. Serena refused to let me hang it in command center. I hung it near Felix's workshop. Then, as if the city itself wanted one more joke before the real nightmare, the search bar pulsed with a delayed answer from a question I had typed days ago and forgot. Weakest boss with best reward. Result: basement vending monarch, level low, reward high due to undefeated streak. Location: convenience store under collapsed parking garage. Warning: boss unbeatable unless customer pays exact change. I read it twice. A vending machine boss. Undefeated because nobody had exact change. This was why I kept searching. We found the collapsed parking garage at sunset. Monsters avoided it, which was either promising or evidence of common sense. The convenience store basement was lit by buzzing fluorescent lights. Snack bags crawled along shelves. Freezer doors breathed fog. At the back stood the vending monarch. It was a vending machine the size of a small house, wearing a crooked hat made of bottle caps, with 6 coin slots and a digital face showing pure contempt. I said nothing about the hat. It was clearly decorative. Also, it was a vending machine, so I felt safe judging it. The boss message appeared. Insert exact change or perish thirsty. Serena looked at me. Felix looked at the coin slots like he had found religion. I searched. Exact change for vending monarch. Answer: 1 pre-apocalypse quarter, 2 subway tokens, 3 amusement tickets, 1 apology. I had all of that except maybe the apology. What apology is accepted? Answer: apologize to machine for shaking vending machines in the past. I had done that. Everyone had done that. I approached the boss with solemn dignity, inserted the quarter, the tokens, the tickets, and apologized for every vending machine I had shaken in anger when chips got stuck. The vending monarch trembled. Its digital eyes softened. Transaction accepted. Then Felix sneezed. His sneeze shook the floor. A bag of chips inside the vending monarch got stuck halfway. The boss went berserk. Apparently old trauma ran both ways. Soda missiles fired from its sides, candy bars shot like bricks. The floor opened into coin pits. Serena cut through snack projectiles, while Felix shouted that this was a misunderstanding between customer and machine. I searched rapidly. Vending monarch weakness after failed dispense. Answer: resolve stuck product. How to resolve stuck product without shaking. Answer. Purchase item below it. What item below stuck chips? Answer. Cursed raisins. Nobody wanted cursed raisins. That was why the chips were undefeated. I copied the exact change with the copy box, slapped a second sticker onto the fake quarter for one transaction, and paid for the raisins. The monarch dispensed them. The chips fell correctly. The boss calmed down. But the cursed raisins crawled toward us like tiny wrinkled spiders. Felix screamed louder than he had at actual dragons. I searched. How to defeat cursed raisins. Answer. Put in oatmeal. Emergency stew pot was offended, but complied after we bravely lied that raisins belonged in food. The raisins dissolved. Boss pacified. Reward infinite return slot. Function once per day. Return one thrown non-living item to inventory after impact. I stared at the reward and thought about rubber hammers, second stickers, soda bottles, fake coins, glassfish, and every object I had ever thrown like a problem with wings. Felix whispered that the world was not ready. Serena said the world had never been ready for me. Vending Monarch also gave us 600 bottles of clean water and one bag of chips with legendary crunch. That mattered too. Not every victory had to be grand, some just fed people. On the walk back, the city was quieter than usual. The Demon King's forward eyes were blind, but the air still felt watched. The final safe zone waited under the central tower. The 3 Guardian Flames were still unclaimed. The invasion timer had not started visibly, but the search bar knew it was coming. I touched the hollow bag, the shadow bookmark, the conductor whistle, the query chain icon, and the strange little search bar that had started all of this. I remembered day 1 again. Everyone else had awakened weapons, classes, and combat skills. I had awakened a question box. They mocked me because they thought answers were not power. They were wrong. Answers were traps before enemies stepped into them. Answers were doors before walls became prisons. Answers were timing, routes, cures, jokes, recipes, fake skies, moving arenas, and exact change. Answers were how a person with no combat power became rank 1 while making stronger people defeat themselves. Now answers were going to decide who owned the final safe zone before the Demon King arrived. The next morning, a new search result haunted me. Final safe zone owner. I had searched it days earlier as a joke, expecting some hidden bunker or magic landlord nonsense. The result had finally loaded. Final safe zone owner, Ember Core beneath Central Tower. Ownership condition, feed core with 3 City Guardian Flames. Current status, unclaimed. Demon King invasion route, Central Tower. Time until invasion, 9 days. The words did not blink, they did not scream, they just sat there quiet and heavy. A final safe zone existed. Nobody owned it. And if the Demon King reached the Central Tower first, everyone in the city would be trapped outside the only shelter strong enough to survive his army. I did not announce it immediately. Information without timing is just panic. I searched the 3 City Guardian Flames. Guardian Flame locations. Answer. Clock Library, Glass Zoo, Thunder Bathhouse. Felix read over my shoulder and said those sounded like places we should avoid. Serena said those sounded like places we had to clear. I hated that she was right. The Clock Library was first. It stood where the public library used to be, except now every floor rotated at a different speed and books flew in circles like angry birds. Time dripped from the ceiling in silver drops. Anyone hit by one aged a day, an hour, or sometimes just their socks. The Guardian Flame burned inside a grandfather clock on the top floor. Sarge. Best path through Clock Library. Answer. Do not walk forward, follow the oldest book moving backward. We found the oldest book by searching its title. Oldest book in Clock Library. Answer. How to be late forever. The book flew backward through the stacks, grumbling in dusty pages. We followed it by walking sideways, backward, and once upside down across a ladder that had decided gravity was optional. Time moths attacked near the 3rd floor. They were beautiful, glowing insects with wings shaped like clock faces. If they landed on you, they stole seconds from your movement, making your body lag behind your thoughts. Serena could cut them, but each slice made more seconds spill into the air. I searched. How to stop time moth swarm. Answer. Bore them. How to bore time moths. Answer. Read schedule aloud. No bureaucracy, just boredom. I grabbed a flying planner and started reading the most painfully normal schedule I could find. wake up, brush teeth, buy eggs, compare socks, rearrange drawer. The moth slowed. Felix joined in with a lecture about screw sizes. Serena simply stared at them with such cold disappointment that 3 moths fell asleep midair. We reached the grandfather clock. The guardian was not a monster. It was a minute hand the size of a spear, spinning around the room so fast it cut bookshelves in half. The flame burned behind the clock face. Sarge, how to obtain clock guardian flame? Answer: arrive before you enter. I hated time dungeons. Arrive before you enter method. Answer: use repeat sound on clock chime, step through previous second. The echo clapper. I waited for the clock to chime, then struck the echo clapper against the bell frame. The chime repeated once, twice, 3 times, each sound stacking over the last. The room blurred. I saw myself entering the room 1 second earlier, looking confused and handsome in a stressed way. I flash-hopped through my own previous position. For 1 second, I was before myself. The minute hand swung where I had been. I grabbed the guardian flame. The clock stopped. Flame 1 acquired. Side effect: player may occasionally hear tomorrow's sneeze. Felix sneezed. I heard it before he did. Awful. The glass zoo was worse. Every animal exhibit had become a crystal habitat. Glass lions prowled behind invisible walls. Glass birds shattered themselves and reformed in the air. Glass snakes moved under the floor, visible only when light hit them. Guardian flame floated inside a transparent whale, suspended over the central dome. Sarge, how to obtain glass zoo guardian flame? Answer: make the whale laugh. I slowly lowered my status window. Serena asked what the answer said. I said we needed comedy. She looked at Felix. Felix looked honored. The glass whale did not laugh at explosions, pratfalls, insults, fake mustaches, or my afterimage calling it a fancy bathtub. It watched us with one giant crystal eye while glass sharks circled below. I searched. What makes glass whale laugh? Answer: unexpected sincerity from someone foolish. Everyone looked at Felix again. Felix climbed onto a broken information desk, cleared his throat, and gave a speech to the whale about how he had always wanted to build something beautiful, but everything he made screamed, smoked, or exploded. He said maybe that was fine, because ugly useful things still saved people. Then he presented the whale with a tiny glass fish he had repaired using gum, wire, and a soda tab. The whale stared. A sound rolled through the dome, deep and bright. The glass whale laughed. The laugh shattered every cage in the zoo at once. For a terrible second, I thought Felix had doomed us. Then the glass animals bowed. The whale opened its mouth, and the guardian flame drifted down like a blue star. Flame 2 acquired. Felix pretended he had dust in his eyes. Serena pretended not to notice. I searched best way to leave before emotional damage increased. Answer: run. We ran. The Thunder Bathhouse was located under a luxury spa where rich people used to pay too much money to sit in mud. Now it was a dungeon full of steam, lightning pools, and towel spirits that attacked anyone who disrespected quiet hours. The 3rd guardian flame burned at the bottom of the hottest pool, guarded by an electric eel the length of a train. Sarge, how to obtain Thunder Bathhouse guardian flame? Answer: relax completely. I considered walking into the eel's mouth instead. The bathhouse punished tension. Every time someone panicked, lightning struck. Every time someone shouted, towel spirits swarmed. Every time Felix said the word invention, 3 steam pipes exploded. So we had to relax while an electric train eel circled beneath us. Serena was terrible at relaxing. Her idea of calm was standing still like a blade in human form. Felix was worse. He kept whispering gadget ideas to himself and getting zapped by tiny warning sparks. I searched. Fastest way to force party relaxation. Answer: warm tea, terrible music, weighted towels. Where to find terrible music? Answer: massage room 6. I found an enchanted flute that played smooth jazz badly. Felix brewed tea from bathhouse herbs. Serena allowed a towel spirit to place a weighted towel on her shoulders, and the look on her face suggested she would one day take revenge on cloth itself. We sat by the lightning pool while the eel circled. The jazz flute squeaked. The tea tasted like wet grass. I searched breathing pattern. Answer: 4 counts in, 6 counts out, ignore imminent eel. The pool settled. The lightning dimmed. The eel rose from the water, enormous and shining, its eyes like storm clouds. It looked at me. I did not move. It opened its mouth. I did not move. My afterimage, unfortunately, appeared from a nervous flash-hop twitch and whispered, "Nice bath noodle." The eel's eye twitched. Serena's hand went to her sword. Felix's flute hit the worst note in human history. Lightning exploded. I searched in pure panic. How to recover relaxation after insulting thunder eel. Answer. Compliment sincerely. I bowed from the waist and told the eel its scales had excellent shine and its jawline was majestic. The eel paused. The lightning stopped. The guardian flame floated up from the pool. Flames 3 acquired. The towel spirits applauded silently. We left smelling like herbs, ozone, and shame. With the 3 guardian flames, we headed for the central tower. It had grown from the downtown plaza, a black needle of stone and metal piercing the sky. Monsters circled it, players avoided it. The entrance was sealed by the Ember Core, a round, furnace-like heart buried beneath the tower floor. Sarge. How to claim final safe zone with guardian flames. Answer. Place flames in core during 3 beats of silence. Where to find 3 beats of silence. Answer. Between Demon Kings, distant war drums at sunset. That meant the Demon King was already moving. Not here yet, but close enough for drums. At sunset, the entire city heard them. Boom. The sky shook. Boom. Windows cracked. Boom. Monsters lowered their heads. Between each drumbeat was a silence, so deep it felt like the world was holding its breath. I placed the first flame. Silence. Second flame. Silence. Third flame. The Ember Core ignited. Light poured from the tower, racing through subway tunnels, stadium halls, hidden bunkers, rooftops, and broken streets. Golden lines connected every safe place we had found. Barriers rose, doors unlocked. Fountains filled, the final safe zone awakened. Owner Owen. Access rule, shelter open to non-hostile players. I had not set that rule. It was built into the core. The search result had told me ownership, but not control. That was fine. I did not want a throne. I wanted walls that kept monsters out and violent idiots honest. The base exploded with messages. People cheering. People crying. People asking how I had done it. I sat on the central tower steps, exhausted, and searched one thing. Current rank. Answer. Rank 1 by support achievements, hidden clears, boss strategy, safe zone claim, non-lethal player suppression. Rank 1. The useless help menu had become rank 1. I wanted to enjoy that too. But the war drums kept getting louder. The Demon King's army arrived 3 days later. It did not come as one neat wave, it came as a disaster with legs. Ash demons crawled over buildings, bone birds filled the sky, red knights without riders galloped through intersections, a giant furnace beast dragged chains made of burning streetlights. And behind them, walking slowly down the main avenue, came the Demon King. He was not huge at first glance. That made him worse. He was tall, wrapped in a cloak of black fire, with horns like cracked obsidian and a sword that looked like a sunset trapped in metal. Every step he took turned the road behind him into glass. His health bar stretched across the sky. People inside the final safe zone watched through the barrier, silent. Serena stood beside me on the tower wall. Felix was below, surrounded by piles of gadgets that were either weapons or soup machines, sometimes both. The Demon King stopped outside the golden barrier and raised one hand. The first strike hit like night falling. The barrier held. Barely. Cracks of black fire spread across the light. I searched. Demon King weakness. The search bar loaded slowly. Too slowly. The second strike hit, the tower shook, people screamed below. Result. Demon King weakness 3 conditions. Remove Halo of Embers, extinguish Heart Flame with First Night Fountain Water, strike Shadow while body is laughing. I stared. I had questions. First, he had no visible halo. Second, the First Night Fountain was under subway platform 3, miles away. Third, making the Demon King laugh sounded like asking a volcano to giggle. Serena read my face and asked if it was bad. I said it was stupid. She said those were usually my best plans. The barrier cracked again. I searched quickly. Where is Halo of Embers? Answer. Invisible above Demon King's head, visible only through smoke from a defeated furnace beast. How to get First Night Fountain Water fast? Answer. Refund badge can recover 1 consumed safe zone water if consumed within last hour. I looked at the empty canteen on my belt. I had drunk that fountain water 50 minutes ago because it tasted like warm bread and survival. For once, my snack habits were strategic. I activated the refund badge. A glowing vial appeared in my hand, filled with golden water. Felix yelled from below that the furnace beast was approaching the east wall. Good, I searched. Fastest way to defeat furnace beast. Answer. Overfeed with copied coal until it sneezes core. Felix heard the plan and became happier than anyone should be during an invasion. The east wall turned into chaos. The furnace beast smashed against the barrier, chains of burning streetlights whipping across the ground. Felix rolled out 6 carts of copied coal, each one rigged with spring launchers. I flash-hopped along the wall, dodging bone bird attacks while Serena cut them out of the air without looking away from the beast. Felix launched the coal. The furnace beast opened its mouth and swallowed everything. Its belly glowed brighter. It roared. We launched more. It glowed white. I searched. Is this too much coal? Answer. Yes, continue. So we did. The furnace beast's eyes widened. Its nose, if that burning chimney counted as a nose, twitched. Then it sneezed. A fireball the size of a truck shot out of its mouth, bounced off the barrier, ricocheted into its own chest, and blasted its core straight into the street. Serena moved. One black lined. The core split. The beast collapsed into smoke. The smoke rose around the Demon King's head. There it was. A halo of embers floating above him, invisible until the smoke curled through it. I searched. How to remove halo of embers. Answer. Steal with hand not holding a weapon. Finally, a boss mechanic designed for me. I had no weapon. I jumped from the wall. The whole safe zone screamed. I dropped through smoke and ash, flash-hopping from falling debris to bone bird backs to streetlight chains. The Demon King tilted his head up, sensing me too late. His sword rose. Serena threw her blade. Not at him. At a bone bird above me. The bird split and I used its falling rib cage as a platform. I kicked off, stretched my empty hand, and grabbed the invisible halo. It burned like holding a star. My health dropped so fast the numbers blurred. I searched with my other hand midair. How to survive holding halo of embers. Answer. Drop it. Very funny. I dropped it. Into a copied cooking pot. The pot melted instantly, but for 1 second it contained the halo. That was enough. The Demon King's health bar flashed. Condition 1 completed. Then he hit me. Not with the sword. With his gaze. Black fire slammed into my chest and threw me through the barrier, across the tower wall, and into a pile of Felix's gadgets. Something exploded. Something else started playing terrible smooth jazz. My ribs felt like broken glass. Serena landed beside me and pulled me up. She asked if I could stand. I said no. Then I stood anyway because the Demon King was raising his sword for the next strike. Condition 2 required the heart flame. Sarge, where is Demon King heart flame? Answer. Inside shadow, not body. How to access shadow? Answer. Force body to laugh. We were back to the impossible part. How to make Demon King laugh. The surge bar paused. Answer. Show him a fool with no fear. I looked at the result and hated it. Not because it involved a halo, not because it sounded dramatic. Because I knew exactly what it meant. Demon King had spent the entire invasion looking at terrified people behind walls. Monsters feared him, players feared him, even Serena respected the danger. He had probably not seen anyone treat him like a joke in centuries. So I climbed onto the cracked wall, bruised, smoking, holding a melted pot with both hands. The Demon King looked at me. His army looked at me. Everyone inside the safe zone looked at me. I put the melted pot on my head. Felix's terrible jazz gadget squeaked behind me at the exact wrong time, which made it perfect. I pointed at the Demon King and told him his halo had been downgraded to cookware. Silence. For one horrifying second, nobody moved. Then my afterimage flickered beside me, wearing another copied pot and said, matching set available. The Demon King's mouth twitched. No way. I searched. Demon King humor status. Answer. Confused, continue. Felix, bless his broken brain, activated every ridiculous gadget at once. Fake treasure chests popped open around the battlefield, shouting compliments. Smoke bananas exploded into yellow clouds. The screaming undead lamps began harmonizing with the jazz flute. Copied pots rolled across the street, each one carrying an afterimage of me making increasingly bad insults. Serena stared at the apocalypse carnival and whispered that she could not believe this was strategy. The Demon King stared too. Smoke Banana hit one of his ash demons in the face. The demon slipped on soda foam and knocked over 3 red knights. A copied pot bounced off the Demon King's boot, and my afterimage inside it said, "Nice ankles, Hornstack." The Demon King laughed. It was not loud. It was one short sound, deep and shocked like thunder coughing. His shadow opened. Inside it burned a black heart flame. Condition 3 window, 3 seconds. I moved before fear could catch me. Flash hub. 1 step. 2. 10. I crossed the battlefield through smoke and broken light. The Demon King's sword came down. Serena intercepted the edge with her black blade, not stopping it, just changing its angle enough for it to carve a canyon beside me instead of through me. I slid under the blade. The shadow mouth opened beneath the Demon King's feet. I poured the First Night fountain water into it. The black heart flame hissed. The Demon King stopped laughing. His health bar cracked in half. Condition 2 completed. Vulnerable state triggered. The shadow rose behind him like a second body, burning and weak. Condition 3 said strike shadow while body is laughing. The laugh had ended, but the echo clapper repeated sound effects. I struck the clapper against the melted pot on my head. The Demon King's laugh repeated once. The shadow froze. Twice. Serena moved. Her blade crossed the battlefield in a clean black arc and cut the shadow from shoulder to hip. 3 times. Felix fired a launcher packed with copied moon quarters, soda cans, and the cracked core of the furnace beast. The projectile hit the cut in the shadow and exploded into golden steam. I threw the repeat key. Not at the Demon King. At the result window. I had searched earlier if the repeat key could reopen more than chests after evolving. The answer had been yes once, if the target counted as a cleared reward container. A boss vulnerability window counted. The key turned in midair, unlocking the 3-second window again. Another 3 seconds opened. Serena understood instantly. She grabbed her thrown blade as it returned, spun once, and cut again. Felix fired everything that had not already exploded. I emptied my inventory of copied bombs, cursed licorice, soda sprayers, fake maps, and one angry glassfish that Felix swore was important. The Demon King's shadow shattered. His body staggered. The army froze. For the first time, the health bar across the sky dropped into the red. The Demon King looked at me, and now there was no laughter in his eyes. Only recognition. Not respect. Recognition. He finally understood that I was not weak. I was unfair. He raised his sword with both hands, gathering every flame in the street. The glass road melted. The barrier behind me screamed. This was the final attack, the one bosses use when they are tired of mechanics and want the entire screen empty. I searched. How to survive Demon King Final Strike. Answer. You cannot block it. That was not helpful. How to avoid Demon King Final Strike. Answer. You cannot outrun it. Still bad. How to defeat Demon King before Final Strike lands. Answer. Make him hit himself. There it was. The oldest trick in every game. Search. How to make Demon King hit himself. Answer. Redirect targeting mark to Halo Remnant using true reflection from Glass Road. I stopped. Not a copied opponent, not some cheap enemy trick, just reflection physics from the Glass Road he had made. The melted pot still held a halo remnant, a tiny ember stuck to the metal. I searched angle. Answer. Low, ugly, embarrassing. I dropped to my stomach on the Glass Road. Serena shouted my name. Felix shouted something about soup. The Demon King's final strike came down, a black sun falling toward me. I placed the melted pot on the road in front of its own reflection. The halo ember aligned with the reflected halo remnant in the glass. The targeting mark, searching for the stolen halo piece, snapped downward. Right back to the Demon King's shadowless body. His sword could not stop. The black sun curved. The Demon King struck himself. The explosion turned the avenue white. For a while, I heard nothing. Then the world came back in pieces. Stone dust. Hot wind. Serena dragging me by the collar. Felix standing on a broken cart, hair smoking, yelling that the soup launcher had survived. Demon King was on one knee in the center of a crater. His sword was cracked. His cloak of fire flickered. The health bar above him showed one thin red line. I could barely move. My search bar blinked. Final action to defeat Demon King. Answer. Walk away. I blinked through blood. Walk away. Search. Explain. Answer. Demon King's body is sustained by challenge. If ignored while shadowless, collapse occurs. That was almost too perfect. All that power, all that terror. A boss built on fear, challenge, and domination. And the finishing move was disrespect. I pushed myself upright. Demon King lifted his cracked sword, waiting for me to charge, waiting for Serena to cut, waiting for Felix to explode something in his face. Instead, I turned around. I walked back toward the safe zone. Every step hurt. The battlefield went silent. The Demon King growled behind me. I did not look back. He forced himself to stand. His body cracked louder. He raised the sword. The challenge had been refused. The fear had been broken. His shadow was gone. His halo was gone. And now even his enemy was too busy limping away to give him a proper ending. Behind me, the Demon King shattered. Not with a roar, with a sound like a furnace going cold. Boss defeated. Demon King defeated. City invasion cleared. Final safe zone preserved. Absurd method bonus granted. I fell on my face. Not dramatically. Flat, like a dropped sandwich. When I woke up, I was back under subway platform 3. The first safe zone fountain bubbled beside me. My body ached everywhere. My inventory was a disaster. My sneakers were cracked. My copy box was smoking. The repeat key had turned dull, and the melted pot was somehow listed as a legendary item. Item acquired. Cookware of fallen menace. Effect nearby arrogant enemies have a small chance to make worse decisions. I hugged it. Serena sat against the wall nearby, arms crossed, pretending she had not been waiting. Felix was asleep on a pile of blankets, with 3 gadgets tucked under his arm like stuffed animals. The subway base above us was alive. People were laughing, eating, repairing walls, sharing loot, telling the story already, probably making it sound cooler than it was, although honestly the pot halo part needed no exaggeration. The rankings were displayed on the fountain surface. Rank 1, Owen. Glass Archive Trickster. Known titles: Safe Zone Finder, Boss Embarrasser, Non-Lethal Menace, Dragon Refund Thief, Demon King Disrespecter. I covered my face with one hand. The system had no dignity. Serena asked what I would search next. I thought about it. For once there was no immediate timer, no blood rain, no war drums, no Grant waiting outside with chains and a grudge. He was still trapped somewhere in an aquarium trial, and I hoped the ghost turtle was doing well. The city was not saved forever. The apocalypse game still covered the world. Other districts had their own monsters, their own bosses, their own desperate players. But our city had a final safe zone, a network of shelters, and a lot of people who had learned that the weakest looking skill could become a nightmare if the person using it had no shame. I could rest. I should rest. I opened the search bar anyway. The cursor blinked. I typed slowly. Best hidden reward after defeating Demon King. For 3 seconds, nothing happened. Then the search bar glowed gold. Result. World Gate under Old Airport Runway. Opens in 72 hours. Leads to Hollow Moon Archive. Recommended level, impossible. Reward search bar evolution. I stared at the words. Serena leaned over my shoulder. Felix opened one eye like he could smell a bad idea. I started smiling. Because impossible was not a wall. Impossible was just the system admitting it had not met me properly.